हाँ मतलब aesthetics would be the least of the worry for people who are coming to listen to the podcast. मतलब उनको क्या फ़र्क पड़ रहा है कि ऊपर विराट कोहली का फ़ोटो है या पीछे वो चेयर दिख रहा है. As long as they are enjoying the conversation, उनको पता चल रहा है कि क्या बात हो रही है, बात उनकी समझ में आ रही है. I don't think they have a problem. अगर so when I started doing podcasts, I used to do them on Zoom.
Oh.
तो Zoom conversation पे तो कुछ भी अच्छा नहीं होता है. And people still used to listen to them. तो चलता है, इतना चलेगा. While we are starting this conversation, Sharan,
Hi.
please. अभी जैसे तुम माइक टेस्ट कर रहे थे, मेरा नाम शरण हेगड़े है, मैं 26 साल का हूँ.
I should do that.
Yeah. मेरे को बड़ा अच्छा लगा.
Check. मेरा नाम शरण हेगड़े है, मैं 26 साल का हूँ. And I'm finance with Sharan.
ये पीक जितना हुआ है ना, बस हमें ध्यान रखना पड़ेगा.
बहुत हो गया पीक.
हाँ मतलब उसका कुछ कर नहीं सकते अब हम, हो गया तो हो गया है.
I think I'm getting too close to the mic.
That is okay, that is not a problem. मैंने बोला ना ऐसे फिस्ट डिस्टेंस, तो ये मैं माइक ऐसे लेके बैठ गया हूँ.
Definitely less than a fist. It was like pencil length when I got so close.
ऐसे ASMR भी चलता है लोगों को, ASMR भी पसंद आता है लोगों को when people ऐसे come
I
close to the
Hindi
mic.
for the first two lines. I can't understand Hindi when you speak so fast. So I didn't understand what you just said.
Oh yeah, I forget that you are not a native Hindi speaker.
Yeah, I'm not.
So what is your mother tongue? Where are you from? Like I know where are you
My
from.
mother tongue is Tulu. It's a language spoken by people of Mangalore, which is a coastal town in Karnataka, very famous for its seafood and beaches. And I speak Tulu. That's my mother tongue.
How is it like मेरा ना very uncultured knowledge about these states of South and language. So Tulu is a language that is popular as in Tamil, Malayalam वगैरह.
No,
or
it's
is it
not
very
popular. It's
small?
only spoken by that particular city. That's it. Dakshin Kannada, that's the district. And in that, Mangalore is where most of the people speak Tulu. That's it. And everybody there knows Tulu, regardless of what religion you belong to. Mostly Hindu speak it at home. But every religion, Catholic, Muslims, all of them speak that particular language. And it's a fun language to speak as well. Definitely, mostly for giving galias. So that's
when you meet people from Mangalore or Bahar, you resonate with them ऐसे तुलु में बात करके.
Definitely. When I meet my friends, I always talk to them in Tulu from Mangalore. It's always fun. And it's always nice to find someone who can speak Tulu in Bangalore. When you see someone who speaks Tulu, you'll instantly gravitate towards them and you'd ask them, who are you? Are you from Mangalore? And it's an instant connection. It's like how when you go to a foreign country and you see another Indian, that exact feeling comes when you find a person who's speaking Tulu.
I mean, to be fair, India is such a huge country कि you are bound to get that feeling when you travel from one place to another. When you meet people from your hometown, it is always for example, I was in Pune once visiting a friend and वहाँ पे ना मेरे को एक गाड़ी दिखा on the road and गाड़ी का नंबर था UP15. So UP15 is my hometown's वो state code वगैरह.
Okay.
And I was with my मेरठ वाले friends and वहाँ पे देख के ऐसे खुश हुए ना हम कि वाह रे, तो अपनी पास की गाड़ी है. ऐसा अच्छा लगता है when you meet people from
same
your hometown.
For me also. KA19, that's Mangalore. So whenever you see that, let's say when you're so when we were traveling to Goa, me and my friends, and then we saw a couple of cars, KA19. They were like, see, that's Mangalore. They'll probably know us. That's the same feeling.
So born and brought up Bangalore? Oh, Mangalore.
Mangalore until I did my I did schooling. I did my PUC there in a cram school, which is 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. studying, preparing for IIT and all of that. Yeah, I did all of that. I was preparing for engineering and my parents wanted me to get the best sort of education. So that
7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Yeah, that's what it was. And
6 days a week?
7 days a week.
7 days a week?
Sundays is half day.
Wow.
That is when we could wear color clothes. Until then it was uniform. 11th and 12th this is. So we had to wear uniform till even on Saturdays. And then Sundays the class used to get over at around 2 p.m.
And this is 11th and 12th?
This is 11th and 12th.
So the years that you're supposed to, in my experience, like enjoy, chill, do teenager stuff.
Right.
You were doing 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. wali padhai.
Absolutely.
But how was it? Like now that you look back at it, how long has it been?
I think it was necessary because India is very competitive and to get into top colleges, you sort of need to go through that, unfortunately. I'm not talking about, naturally smart people. I'm talking about, the average Joes. In India, to outshine and get into top colleges, you have to do that. That's necessary. So that helped me get into, I tried to get into IIT. No, before that actually my dream was to become a scientist because I thought I was like really smart and all, because all through my schooling I used to top my classes. So I thought I'm a really smart guy. I had a lot of ego.
A scientist.
So I thought I'll become a scientist and change the world, Then once you get into this cram school from 11th and 12th, it's like the school has the toppers from all over the state in one class. Like the average 10% percentage in this class is like 95-96%, and I have 93%. I could barely get into the top 5. I think only like 4 or 5 times in that entire 2 years I could get into top 5 of the class during an exam. It was that competitive, and that's where I realized, okay, मैं कुछ भी नहीं हूँ. There are much smarter people than me. So I thought next step is IIT. Try to get into IIT. Then one way into the course I realized advanced is not my cup of tea. Then I tried to get into NITs. NITs bhi nahi hua. I got into some branch. I should have taken it in hindsight. I should have taken it, but that time I was like focused on which branch I wanted to get into. So ultimately I went into RV College, which is like the top college in Karnataka, and I had a fantastic experience. Had the experience of building a Formula 1 race car in college.
Oh, nice.
Had a lot of good friends. So I loved it, and it opened a lot of doors as well. So a lot of companies come to the college, right? Even the companies that I want to get into, like I was interested in management consulting halfway during engineering.
You got into PwC.
I got into KPMG first and then PwC.
Oh, nice.
So the opportunity to get into management consulting without having to put in the effort of networking and reaching out and all of that, because they came to our college itself. So it was much easier. So good colleges opens doors that way. So in hindsight, I would think going through that 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. was definitely worth it. Because now I don't have to put in that effort because the brand name is there and that opens more doors. So yeah.
But going back to that 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. wala thing. As a 16, 17-year-old kid.
Yeah.
I say, like, did you have other peers from your school who were like doing other cool stuff type mein, like teenage mein cool hota hai, ghumna ghamna, and you felt ki...
So what happened is all the studious guys from my school, they followed me to this college.
Oh wow.
Right? So all of them were there, some 3 or 4 of them. But there were some people who you don't expect much of, like people who were notorious in school. They are doing some pretty interesting stuff, right? And it's true what they say, the backbenchers are the one who become founders and all of that. So this guy's one friend of mine, who was a very big bully in school, right? And now he's running $1 million company. So pretty interesting stuff. Like there's always outliers like that. Obviously academics is not the only way to be successful. There are other ways as well. So that was also, very surprising to me that.
Have you always believed in this?
What?
Yeah, academics is not the only way to be successful, or that has recently changed?
I knew it to some extent, but obviously I wouldn't want to misguide the audience here. Academics is to a great extent important.
Audience ko chodo. I'm talking about you.
Right now I think it's not important. It's not that important. Definitely in today's age.
Go ahead.
Definitely in today's age, where you see teenagers doing all kind of stuff. For example, the founders of Zepto, 19-year-old, running almost $1 billion company. So that is really, really, surprising to see, and I'm definitely going to see a lot more things like that happening. For example, I've recently invested in this company. I won't name it right now, which is sort of like a LinkedIn for teenagers.
LinkedIn for teenagers.
LinkedIn for teenagers. So it's like there are certain teenagers. There's a large number of teenagers out there who are so ambitious and so determined to do something great at the age of 13 or 14 that they require a whole separate platform to connect them with companies. So it's like school mein internships. Right, so that is sort of going on, right?
Do you personally like? So I personally do not agree with this sentiment.
Which sentiment?
Ye wala ki 13, 14, 15, 16-year-old kids should be doing internships, should be doing stuff.
No, I'm not saying they should.
Money.
I'm saying it gives them clarity as to what they want to do in life. Because I did not have that clarity until I even finished engineering. Only until the 3rd or 4th year is when I really started doing my research, and I realized, okay, I don't want to do this mechanical engineering stuff and stay at my desk all day. I'm more of a person who likes to interact and talk to people and solve problems in a group. So that is what I realized, and I decided to get into management consulting. But that came very late. It could have happened maybe when I was 13 or 14, and maybe I wouldn't have gotten into engineering in the first place if I knew it back then. I would have taken, a degree in economics, or I would have done a bachelor's in management. I could have done all of that, but I did not spend the time and effort, nor did I have the correct sort of an environment to get that sort of insights. But platforms like this will help you interact with like-minded people at an early age and builds more discipline from the beginning. I'm not saying don't go out and play. Definitely do all of that. But at the same time, if I had spent at least half an hour per day back then to thinking more about long-term perspective of my career, that would have been helpful. Because back then, and even now, parents only know two things, that's engineering and medicine. And becomes our whole world as well when we talk to our parents, and that's the whole knowledge that we have. We don't talk to our peers because our peer circle is very small in our school, and they are defined by the cultural aspects of that particular city. So even they are only talking about engineering and medicine. But had I had a platform where I could interact with teenagers my age from multiple cities across India, I could have had a broader perspective of what else is out there, and I could have done a little bit more research. So I definitely think it's important to have all of that.
Now, listening to you speak, I'm trying to correlate it with my schooling. मेरे स्कूल में ऐसा कुछ नहीं था. No pressure on going to engineering colleges. No pressure on trying to figure out medical. Like, of course, I knew kids जिनके पेरेंट्स उन पे ये प्रेशर डालते थे. But my school was always कि पढ़ो लिखो खेलो बढ़िया extra curriculars करो and explore a lot of things. So I think you're right. Schools should have that kind of environment, and it should not, like in my opinion, great that these companies exist now. But I think it should be the responsibility of the school to make sure ki kids get to do this from their young age.
This is a great example because both of us are from different cities and we were siloed in our experience. Had I had a chance to network and interacting with you on a platform like this, my perspective of what kind of career I could have would have been much more broadened. Right? I could have learned about, you both of us are doing almost the same thing right now. Right? But had I met you back then on a platform like this, I would have known very early on that this is also something that exists, and probably I might excel at this. Right?
But do you not think kids के लिए मतलब I don't want to even call them kids anymore, but let's say for someone in a young age, it is very overwhelming to figure out कि हमें क्या करना है.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Like, do you have any clarity at this moment today? क्या तारीख है आज? April 2022, we're sitting and recording. What do you want to do? Let's say 5 years from now, 10 years from now. जो हम clarity की बात कर रहे हैं.
I don't.
So we're all still in the same boat where we don't yet figured out कि हमें क्या करना है.
Yeah. But I know one thing that I definitely want to do content creation. I love doing that, and I'm sure it's for you as well. I don't know what new things I want to do. Right? I'm a person who always like to do multiple things at the same time. Like, I don't like to do just one thing because I get bored easily. So I don't know what those new things are. I have some inkling as to what it could be, but it's dynamically changing. But some core aspects will remain the same.
Tell me about those core aspects. Abhi recently, I think yesterday when I was on my flight here, I was listening to a podcast by this doctor on YouTube, Dr. K करके है कुछ, and there was this conversation around someone asked him a question, how do I find my passion करके, and he said it is a very bad question, it's a stupid question to figure out how to find your passion. You first need to understand कि passion क्या होता है. I think you have arrived उस पे थोड़ा सा about talking about your core values. So tell me about that थोड़ा.
Yeah, so for me it's very simple. So I'm sure you're familiar with this concept of Ikigai. Right.
Ikigai की बहुत बुराई करी थी उसने उस podcast में.
Really?
But I'm familiar with it. Which explain it थोड़ा.
Yeah, so it's very simple. So it's figuring out to do something which so number one is to do something which gives you money, to do something which adds value to the society, and to do something which feels fun. Right, at the intersection of all these three, I think I'm missing one more thing.
There's one
more thing. Do you know what that is?
मुझे याद नहीं है, but essentially it's an amalgamation of when all things align.
Yeah, when all those three things
value,
align,
money, purpose, एक और है कुछ. Where all of those align, you arrive at that one stage.
Intersection, that is Ikigai.
Yeah.
And most people are not able to achieve that. So what they do is they have one aspect for each of those things. One is to make money, which is your main job. Most people don't like their job, so that is one thing that makes money. Another one is which makes you happy, but might not necessarily give you money. Let's say learning a new instrument, it makes you happy. And another one which adds value. Let's say you're doing some social service work, which may not pay you a lot, but it gives you, it makes you feel good. So most people will do multiple things, and that gives them, happiness. That's what Ikigai means. But if you can find something which does all those three, that is true Ikigai. And I think content creation for me is that all three things. It gives me money. It adds value to the society because I create content on personal finance. So I genuinely think it helps people. And I genuinely enjoy doing it because I love acting, I love writing scripts. So I think it fits all those three criteria. So since I'm lucky enough to get that, right, and I love doing it, so I would never want to stop doing it. So this is one of the core things that I would never change about me.
So I think there is a layer beneath this.
Okay.
For you.
Okay.
That layer is not that you particularly love content creation, providing value to society.
Okay.
or earning money out of it.
Okay.
The three of those are built upon another core thing that you absolutely love.
Okay.
Which might be storytelling, which might be acting, which might be going out into the world in public and showcasing your talent. So again, that is a deeper core thing, जिसके ऊपर these other three things hold more value. Like ये तीन चीजें that you've spoken about, content creation, value and money, they're all driven by your desire to do something creative.
Right. Yeah. I mean, see, definitely storytelling is definitely something that I didn't know that I want to do, but once I started doing it, I genuinely loved doing it. And you also mentioned about being there out in the world, getting that fame and recognition. I mean, everybody internally wants all of those things, right? I don't think not many people would not want to be, rich and famous. Everybody wants to do that. Everybody looks up to cricketers and movie stars because we want to be like them. And I'm thinking all of this have that innate desire. Yeah. So I agree with that, with you on that point. All of us have that, and I have it. I'll shamelessly agree to that. So and it's fun. It's nice.
The differentiating trait is exactly this.
Differentiating
trait is exactly this. That most people, in fact, everyone has that desire to have fame. And money, and इसके पीछे भी nature desire is validation, and I don't want to call it luxury, but it's mostly validation from the society कि हाँ ठीक है हम कुछ सही कर रहे हैं.
Definitely, everybody needs that. Everybody wants that.
Everybody wants that. It's a basic function of our human society, yaar.
Right.
This is
by virtue of being in a human society that has come up, and it is unavoidable. We definitely need that. We are not, we are not living alone, right? If we're living alone, all these things wouldn't be there. But we are all social creatures.
But most people are averse to accepting it कि हमें ये चाहिए. Why do you think that is?
Most people are averse to accepting it. I think it's because I don't know. I don't want to sound rude, but I think I think it's maybe because they think they're above that and they want to differentiate themselves, or they think that ये मुझसे नहीं होगा, so let me act like I don't want it. So I think that would be.
Have you ever had those doubts about yourself?
Definitely. I mean, right now, because of all this, social media has given an opportunity for anybody and from anywhere, to, be well known, famous and rich. And that is like, democratization of media has happened right now. Earlier, it was just movie stars who could do that, star kids or people with a lot of money and influence who could ever dream of going to Mumbai, and go through that arduous process of getting into the big screen. And right now, anybody can do it, right? Just through social media. So until social media came along, I think everybody kind of accepted that, right? I don't need fame. I don't care about it. I'll just live my life.
Because it was itna out of reach.
It was so out of reach that it was unfathomable to even dream about it back then. But now that it has become possible for anybody to do it.
Back then is 5 years ago.
5 years ago, yeah. So now it has become pretty possible for everyone. And that is why when you ask people, what do you want to be today? Everybody says content creation.
Yeah. But it's not as easy as it
definitely it's not. It looks easy, but it's not.
Now, has anyone ever come to you or told you, or have you ever had doubts about your... चलो पहले उससे पहले एक step पीछे आते हैं. How was coming out of Mangalore to a city like Bangalore for you personally?
So for me, it was a very... not a very difficult process because my college was in the outskirts of Bangalore.
Oh.
Right? So we were just staying there. And it was so far that it was very difficult to come to the center of Bangalore. And we didn't have a lot of money back then. Metro wasn't built until that point. So we had to take cabs all the way to the center of Bangalore and it used to cost like $200-300. So two people going was out of the question. You need a group.
You need a group.
4 to 5 people to
पूरा
split
car
the
का
cab.
seat भरना पड़ेगा तभी निकलोगे.
Right, तभी नहीं होगा. And after going there also you have to spend money. So it was a very expensive affair. So it actually, that outskirt was so laid back that Mangalore felt more developed than that area where I was staying in. So it didn't really feel that different moving to Bangalore. But once I started working, that is when I moved to the center of Bangalore. I was in Koramangala, and that was a big shift. I started earning my own money. I don't have to ask my parents anymore. Learned about money management much better. It was very difficult to resist spending money on things.
What did you do with your first salary?
My first salary, nothing monumental. I just bought gifts to my mom and sister, and then saved the rest. I'm not a good big spender. That way. I don't like to spend a lot of money. And also, the first salary was not that great. It was 27,833 rupees.
That is
better in a city in Bangalore.
That is better than most people. I mean, it's a good fresher salary.
It's a good fresher salary, but definitely not enough to have a good
splurge.
life.
Not enough to
Not
splurge.
enough to good life. It's just enough to meet the basic needs like rent, food. That's it. But you can't eat outside every day. You can't go out on weekend partying every night. You always need to, ensure that you get the best discount coupon code and all of that on Swiggy, and wait for the offers and all of that on Amazon. Wait for the big billion day. So you have to be very, very conscious that way when you're making that much amount of money. So it is not a lot of money. So not really a lot of avenues to spend it. Even though I was staying in a city like Bangalore. Yeah.
And how was it? You did 4 साल का engineering होता है ना, 4 years.
4 साल. Yes.
And then immediately उसके बाद you went into a job.
Then I immediately got into KPMG.
KPMG.
Yeah.
How was KPMG?
KPMG was fantastic, man. That was really one of the best things that.
Like I'll give you some context. Like
Yeah.
my perspective.
Yeah.
I never applied for a job.
Yeah.
Throughout my college, later उसके बाद भी, I've had just one proper job,
Okay.
and that job also someone referred. So I have no context of applying for interviews. I have no context of what goes on in corporates. So my conception or my interpretation from vicariously living it through my friends who have worked in consultancy firms is exactly बस कि उसमें बहुत काम कराते हैं सुबह शाम तक बहुत काम कराते हैं.
Right.
And we continue to work there because maybe 3-4 years down the line they'll send us abroad to work.
Right.
And I've met people who are abroad working. उनका भी यही है कि बहुत काम कराते हैं.
Yeah.
अब 4-5 साल में वापस चले जाएंगे. जितना enjoy कर सकते हैं.
Right.
Was it similar for you?
So for me, what happened was, I didn't know what I wanted to do until the 3rd or 4th year. But I had a basic idea that I want to work with groups. I want to work on solving big business problems, and I want to work with
groups?
CEOs.
Why do you want to work with?
Because I'm
people?
not one who likes to just sit in a desk and work by myself. I get bored. But I like to work with groups and brainstorm ideas and come up with a solution. That's the kind of person I am. And consulting is one of those jobs which enables you to do that. And one more thing was, by joining KPMG, I was exposed to some of the best minds in the country in the business domain. People who graduate from IIMs. So I had actually written the CAT exam, did not get in. If I had gotten in, I would have gone into IIMs. I didn't get in, it was fine. I got into KPMG and I was surrounded by these people. Very smart people. And most of my money management knowledge that I have today, personal finance, they were actually derived from the numerous coffee chats that I had with them. So that was a lot of fun. And but coming to your point about why people do this, I agree that, to some extent, it feels nice when somebody asks you, what do you do?
KPMG.
I work at KPMG. I'm a management consultant. It's a, highly coveted job. So it's nice to say that, from a societal standpoint. And also and at that point of time, the desire is, just get promoted, start wearing those suits, go meet clients. Yeah. And be well recognized within the firm, get big clients, big projects, get those high ratings. So all of that was very important back then. So yeah, that feeling is always there.
And you worked there for how long?
Around 3 years. I worked there for 3 years.
Long time, 3 years.
Yeah. Then after that, I moved to PwC, which is another Big 4 company. So there also I had a great time. There I got the experience of working with US clients and got to see how they work, how they treat the firm. So that was a great experience as well.
And all these years you were still in Bangalore or you traveled bahar kahin?
No, I traveled a lot. I had a blast. So, that life which you talk about, traveling all the time, taking 3-4 flights a week, staying in 5-star hotels, ordering whatever you want from the menu, that I lived that life. It was fantastic. And people say it gets boring after some time, but it didn't get boring for me. I enjoyed it because I used to explore the city. I love traveling. Yeah. So I used to explore the city, meet new people.
Which places? Give me examples.
So Hyderabad, Chennai, full Kerala I traveled because most of my clients were from Kerala. And Mumbai, Delhi. Yeah, these are the states. These are the cities that I traveled to frequently. It was a lot of fun.
I don't know if it would be a fair question to ask, but which is your favorite city apart from Bangalore?
Apart from Bangalore?
Because you're still here. So I'm assuming
at the
Bangalore
moment,
has
I would say,
some relevance.
I've not lived in most cities. I've lived in Hyderabad for like 2 months. And Bangalore, Mumbai is the other most frequently traveled city, I would say, but I've never lived there. I would have to pick Mumbai, even though Hyderabad, if let's say Hyderabad had people who speak the language that I speak, then I would have picked Hyderabad because it has less pollution, less traffic, and has all the things that I would need. So I would pick that over Mumbai. But since nobody speaks the language that I speak, I have to speak in English, and most people speak in English there. So it's pretty hard to settle in there. So I would say Mumbai. But I wouldn't say I would. I don't know if I would love living in Mumbai, because every time I go there, I just go party and come back like 3-4 days. That's it. So I just see the good side of Bombay. I don't know how the humidity or the weather is like.
How the real Bombay life is.
I don't know what the exact Bombay life is like. So even now, me and my roommate, we keep traveling to Mumbai for ad shoots. So we live there for 3-4 days, talk to founders, have a blast. We go to Soho, have parties and all of that. So we are thinking of moving to Bombay, but I think we are influenced by those short-term experiences.
Exactly.
Life as a yoga after going there. We don't know, but we're taking a risk. But yeah.
But I think in the line of work that you are now, I think it would make more sense to be in a city which got people like that.
Definitely. I think it's going to be very helpful for me, especially for the kind of content I create, which is, creating skits. It's not just a monologue of explanation, right? I like to create skits, and I love doing collabs with other creators.
I have a question here.
Yeah.
Why do you love creating skits?
Why do I love creating skits?
Like, talk to me through the process of creating a skit or a video, a Finance with Sharan Instagram video.
Sure.
What is that process?
So it's a 3-step process. The first process, it's me working with a group of content creator researchers who I've hired. So we get on a call every single day from 7 to 8, and we brainstorm on ideas that we have discussed during the day. And then we challenge each other on how this can be used to create a case on giving a recommendation for personal finance. We create financial models. It's a huge process. Maybe takes 2 to 3 days before we arrive at a concrete idea.
Okay.
And sometimes we might go through an entire week and reject an idea as well, which becomes very painful. So that's how we do it.
Yeah.
Come with a bunch of ideas. So this is what I tell my content researchers, and this is the philosophy of content with Finance with Sharan. It needs to fill 3 criteria. First thing, it needs to have a mass implication. It should not be a very niche solution. For example, there is trading in futures and options and all of that. That is a very small niche, segment of people who do that. So I avoid that kind of content. And plus, it wouldn't make justice to explain that kind of content in 30-60 seconds.
Yes.
So I skip that altogether. First criteria, it will have a mass appeal. Large number of people should think that, okay, I might find benefit out of this. It's number one. Second thing is that it needs to have a clear impact on the person. It needs to either make him richer, or it needs to make him save money, or it needs to improve the quality of his finance management. Okay. It has to have a clear impact. For example, I would avoid topic like, let's say, recently when Ronaldo moved that Coca-Cola bottle and the stock price fell. Every content creator I know did some content around that. But that doesn't help anyone. It's just, just sensationalized news. Like even the media companies pick it up. Everybody knows about it. They're just doing it for the follower. I avoid that topic completely, and I would not make something like that. I would only make something which has a clear impact on you, not just at that moment, on a long-term basis. Okay. Not just at that point of time. And the third thing is it has to have an actionable insight. Meaning there needs to be a clear call to action from the audience to make that into a reality. Right? It should not be just a good to know information that happens whether you take action or not. Only when a person takes an action, he gets the benefit out of it. So this is the 3 criteria that I use. So that covers the idea generation phase. Then I sit down with that idea. I know what the problem statement is, what the solution is. Then I get into my script writing. Here, there's no proper process. I just,
whatever happens, whatever works.
Yeah, whatever works. I get inspiration from a lot of things. For example, today we went to the gym, and I have to write a script now. And my script today is based on the gym.
Nice.
Right? So I get a lot of inspiration that way. And as I write, I get those ideas. So once the script is done, then on weekends, I just do writing of script on weekdays, and on weekends, I shoot in bulk. Okay. Right now, you're asking to answer your question about why I do skits. It's because I love acting, right? I'm sure most of us would love to act. I mean, we all watch movies, and we all like to be movie stars and all of that. Yeah. Creating skits gives me that opportunity to be an actor without being on the big screen, right? I don't have to ask someone to be on a movie. I can be on my own movie. It's like I create my own set, I create my own scripts, and I'm an own actor. No permissions. I'm just doing it because I want to do it. So that's why I love doing skits. And I love doing a lot of acting. So for example, I love the Dark Knight movie. So I created scenes of the Dark Knight movie in my script.
And I think those are one of your most popular
Most people recognize me for those kind of skits. Oh, nice. Right? So I love doing it. I acted like the Batman and the Joker. I had a blast doing it. Put makeup, put lipstick and all of that.
I think for content creators, especially Instagram and YouTube, where people tend to spend more time consuming your content, it is very important for creators to bring out their authentic side. So for you, let's say, because you love acting, you bring out that side in your content. And that, I think, is one of the most important reasons. I don't think your finance knowledge or the solutions that you're providing is as important as people connecting and resonating with your love for presenting it in a manner which is entirely your own.
Absolutely. Actually, I'll tell you what. Yesterday, I received a DM from one of my audience. She says, my 5-year-old daughter loves watching your content, and she loves to say, I follow my man Financial Sharan at the end of every video, right? So that is the kind of connection that you build with your audience. Now it has become more than the knowledge that I give. But that's the thing, right? Finance by itself is very boring, right? So if I say just that, it might not register in their mind. When you make it interesting and add a lot of jokes in it, that is when it registers in their mind and they remember it for a longer time. And that's the thing. So I agree with that. It's right now, the reason why my content is so, it resonates with the audience more is because I bring more of myself into it. I bring the Bangalore slangs in it and my personality in it. And that is actually how I talk, not all the time, some of the times. So that's how I talk with my friends and all of that. That's the energy which I bring in. So I think that's what been working really well.
And the reason I made that statement was also because the platform that you are on, your Instagram is your most important platform. Majority of Instagram users are not people who actually have enough money to spend, save, invest. Because by virtue of being on the younger side, Instagram is a youth platform.
That's right.
So the advice that you would give out, would make more sense to go out on a platform like, let's say, LinkedIn.
True. That's true.
But again, the point here exactly is this, because you're bringing out the authentic side of yourself on this platform, it resonates with those people.
Right.
And maybe aaj se 50 saal baad they remember that advice. 50 se zyada ho gaya. 20 years down the line they remember that advice.
Right.
So they would
and
remember
also,
you for
one more thing. It's true that most of the people on Instagram are young, but my demographics, if I look at my demographics, 50% of them are from the age of 25 to 35.
Oh, that is...
Right. So that means that my content is attracting, the
so you're getting to the right people.
Age, the middle age people.
You're getting right where people start earning money and they have money to invest.
That's right.
That
and
is
around 30-40% are the younger side, the Gen Z people, and that is also important because finally when they start earning money, they have all the knowledge that's ready.
कल ही तो मिला हमको लड़का
है. The guy who is 15 years old,
15
who is
years
watching
old
my content, who is not even making any money and is watching my content. So by the time he starts earning money, he will have all this plethora of information that he'll at least, he won't feel lost like what most of us do when we receive our first salary. So it's important to have all age groups, in your audience.
So 2 questions about this. One, how does it feel to have this responsibility that you have taken upon yourself to, let's say, empower and enable people to learn more about finance? Your Instagram handle literally is Finance with Sharan.
Right.
So you have that responsibility now.
Right. Definitely.
How does it feel to have that responsibility?
I mean, it feels awesome, I guess. I mean, to give you one word answer, it feels awesome. I've always wanted to kind of educate the people around me. So whenever I try to do that on a one-on-one basis, it used to take a lot of time and, not many people were interested. So I was always interested about personal finance and I used to talk about it with my friends. Right? And I used to try to explain it to them. But it was a very tiresome process explaining it to every single person. Right? So that's why I started creating content. And I never expected it to grow so much. I
remember you started with YouTube.
Right. I started with YouTube and put that link on all the people that I ever know in my entire life. Let's say I know like 500 people in my life, both close friends and acquaintances. Every single person in my contact, I send it to them. And then I got like 80, 90 followers I got.
Oh, nice. Yeah. That's a good ratio, by the way.
That's a
good ratio. So it means you know like, good people.
All my friends. These are my real friends. So they watched all of that and they gave me a lot of nice feedback as well. And although, if I go back to that video and I see, obviously it looks very bad. But back then, right, when I put it out, these guys, they're very encouraging and they said, excellent video, I loved it. I never thought about finance this way and all of that. So fast forward to today, I mean, first of all, I never expected it to be this big. I thought maybe 20,000-30,000 is what I would saturate it. I mean, it's finance, it's boring. I didn't think there would be a large audience.
And you were still working then, no? You were still working.
I was still working. I was doing it simultaneously. Obviously, I mean, I never thought of making money out of this. I was just doing it from the pure perspective of educating people, right? Who knew money can be made from content creation? I didn't know back then. Right? I would never think that it would be enough to sustain your lifestyle exclusively with content creation. I never thought that when I started. Now people know that that's possible, so that's where they're starting. Right? I didn't know that was possible, but I still started from the perspective of educating people. So that's why I did. And now that it has grown so much, definitely there is a responsibility. Now, like I said, it takes 2 to 3 days for me to come up with a content idea because I cross-verified across so many platforms, because there is no room for error in this space. I'm not doing I'm not a stand-up comedian, nor am I dancing here. So I can make mistakes as a stand-up comedian or a dancer, but there is no room for errors when it comes to educating people about where to put their hard-earned money. So definitely a huge responsibility.
What creators did you used to watch, if any?
Yeah, I used to watch. I was not someone who was in social media at all. When I joined finance with Sharan, that is when I became social media savvy.
7 से 7 पढ़ाई करने के बाद कहाँ टाइम मिलेगा सोशल मीडिया का?
Definitely, I got a phone when I was in engineering, first phone. When I joined first year of engineering, and I was definitely, I used to think, I am too cool for the social media platforms.
Perfect. Love how
I was like
life turns out, na?
Right. I didn't even have Instagram until the 4th year of engineering. No Instagram.
Oh.
And when I got Instagram was because I had gone on a Europe trip and I got like a lot of cool pictures. So just to show off, I started this Instagram and I posted like 10, 15 pictures. So even if you go to my personal account, I have around 37 posts. And in that 30 posts are Europe trip pictures.
Perfect.
Yeah. So that's the kind of person I was. So, what is the question again?
The question, एक second. What do you mean that is the kind of person you were? Are you not that person anymore?
No, I'm not that person anymore. Now, I mean, social media is almost my entire life right now. So now the thing was, the reason why I was thinking that way, because I was thinking social media was a waste of time. And back then there was no educational content being on Instagram. On short form content wasn't even there. Like it was all, it was
posting
pretty pictures,
skits, pranks on YouTube.
Exactly.
YouTube.
And I thought I was too cool for that. It's a waste of time. Let me focus on my career and all of that. Now, educational content creators have come, right? And I generally think most of them are adding value and changing people's lives, right? So now I definitely, and so social media is not the one to blame. It's who you follow is what matters.
I agree.
Right? If you follow the right kind of people, social media can be an amazing platform to learn, because it's user-generated content, right? You're learning from other people like you, right? And that sticks longer in your head, and you'll resonate with it better because it's a real person explaining it to you, and not just like a recorded course, and not just.
The question was, who did you used to watch?
Yeah, I used to. I never. That's what the question was. Yeah, that's what. Since I joined Instagram like 1 year back, and when I started is when I started following, and because I was creating educational content. I used to follow people who were already there, such as Shashank Kudupa, who is still making amazing finance content. Anushka Rathod, who was one of the early movers. I think the first person.
This is after Reels came out.
Yes, after Reels came out, or at the point when Reels came out. That is when I started using social media. Yeah.
Oh,
that's right. Yeah, I never used social media until then.
Very surprising.
Yeah. So Anushka Rathod, she was the first person who started making educational content on Instagram. One of the first person. Then Ankur Warikoo, of course. So yeah, these were the guys that I used to watch content from and learn from, because they're the ones who started it.
I'm just still amazed at the fact that you've only been using social media for a year.
Right, shocker, right?
No Facebook?
Yeah, Facebook I had, but yeah, I mean, after school, who used? I mean, we were just using it for Messenger. It felt nice because we didn't have a phone. It felt nice to talk to your school friends after class, after school. So that kick was there. And first time you use Messenger, after school, you can still talk to this guy. Because that time WhatsApp and all wasn't there. So it felt like drugs that time. Going to Messenger and talking to someone and texting.
I remember. मुझे याद है, one of the first girls that I liked ever. The thrill that I got जब उसने friend request accept किया था. मजा ही आ गया था.
Right.
Beautiful.
And then we used to put polls. I mean, there used to be a group of schools.
There used to be polls. A poke wala thing as well.
Who is better looking, this or that. Like face match, what he did, that same thing.
I remember very vividly, yaar, Sham ko, like I did not used to go to tuitions and all. I think until my class 11th, I had no tuitions. And 11th, 12th, maybe I only went because socializing. And 10th, I used to come back. खेल के शाम में 5 बजे आप आओ कंप्यूटर पे बैठो you're waiting for the other person to come online so they can chat. All good stuff. What do you think? ये जो social media has become like, okay, the first question was again what creators do you follow and responsibility wala. The next question is, I honestly genuinely feel that at this point everyone wants to become a teacher on social media for some reason.
You mean like a content creator?
हाँ.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that? Because just in the last year and a half.
Again, it's the same thing what I told you, right? When we started, we didn't know that.
This would go break.
I mean, you've been doing it for a long time.
Yeah.
But when I started, I didn't know that there is money to be made here. I did it generally for the purpose of educating people. But I think now that people know what you can become and how big you can become and how much money you can make, now I think they're starting for the wrong reasons maybe. I don't know what their reasons are, but I think the trend is set to continue, and I think it's very important for everybody to be a content creator these days. I'm not saying come on Instagram and make reels. Not that. Content creator can be not just from video; it could also be textual format. And I think every single person today, regardless of what you do, should be doing some content or the other, at least on LinkedIn, right?
I would say even open a personal blog right there.
Where what?
Open your own personal blog right.
And right. And I'll tell you why. Because we are in such a competitive country right now, just having your pedigree like I am working in a blue chip company is not enough these days. Because the first thing that a person does when you apply for a job, the first thing that you do is go to the LinkedIn page. And if you have some very nice posts on LinkedIn that you have typed and people engaging with that, and that becomes a game changer. That immediately puts you in a crowd which is so exclusive and so the recruiter will remember you instantly, right, when he calls you, right? Out of the pool of 100 applications, if you might just be one out of the 5 people who would have differentiated by putting content on LinkedIn. And people might say, what will I do? I mean, the thing is, this is what I learned from Ali Abdal, who is a productivity guru, global productivity content creator on YouTube. So he says, we think that we have nothing to teach because the things that we know seems very basic to us because we know it so well. But it may not be the case for the people around us. Just because we think something is easy, it might not be easy for somebody else, right? That's the thing. Even with personal finance, when I started out, I used to think the same way, right? I used to think this is so easy. I mean, so what's the point of creating content on this? Everybody would be knowing this.
Yeah.
And then once I watched this video, then it clicked, right? Not many people know about this, and I can actually create content on this, and it's so easy for me that I can easily teach other people. So that's why whatever you do, regardless of what you do, you can always create content and put it on LinkedIn so that other people know what you do. Even the HR recruiters of a company, let's say McKinsey, right? The first recruiter who is shortlisting a profile, they don't really know, what is required of the job. They are looking at you from a high level perspective. Once they shortlist you, then it goes to the consultant or the manager who is going to eventually hire you. Your job is to get the foot in the door. To get the foot in the door, you need to differentiate yourself by at least making things sound simple of what you do, so that the HR, likes you, and that gets you the foot in the door, and then you can take care of the rest. So that's why I think it's very important for everybody to be a content creator.
I agree with everything you have said, but I'm going to take it a step pehle usse.
Okay.
I don't think everyone should create content just for the purpose of standing out from the crowd.
Okay.
Like having that as even a starting goal is, in my opinion, not the right way to approach it.
Okay.
Everyone should create content, write, create videos, draw, do whatever you want which is creative, and the goal should be to learn how to express yourself.
Okay.
You can do that by writing text, you can do that by singing, you can do that by dancing, you can do that in any 1,000 different creative ways. But the goal should be you should know what you like. What makes you happy, what gives you some sort of satisfaction, what gives you some sort of purpose.
Right.
Because अगर तुम उसको उस गोल से अप्रोच करोगे कि मेरे को चाहिए जॉब, मेरे को LinkedIn पे स्टैंड आउट करना है, then you have ulterior motives.
Right.
If you start from the purpose of learning about yourself and you start creating content with the intention to express yourself, that motive will still be reached because you will still be creating content, you will still end up at that same goal of standing out from a crowd. But because you start off from the perspective of I want to learn more about myself, it changes the entire way you look at things. I think perspectives are very important in life, and most people, generally the people that I speak to, even in the content space, even generally kids that I happen to interact with, want to do these things because उनका end goal वैसा कुछ है.
Right.
The end goal is to start earning money. The end goal is to become popular. The end goal is to catch on the next big thing as early as possible. But that is a very short-sighted vision.
Right.
क्योंकि तुमने कर भी लिया. You've gone on to become, you've figured out कि ठीक है अब YouTube Shorts आजकल popular है. YouTube Shorts पे क्या अगला चलने वाला है. तुमने figure out कर लिया. तुमने उस पे capitalize भी कर लिया.
Right.
Worked for 6 months. 7th month YouTube is like कि चलो कुछ और करते हैं. But because you started off with that goal कि मुझे इस पे capitalize करना है, you have no fucking clue कि तुम 6 महीने बाद क्या करोगे.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Because I'll tell you what. initially when someone creates content, especially when someone does it on Instagram, Instagram not a few months back was promoting a lot of new creators, right? And they're giving them undue advantage, so to encourage them to create more content. And a lot of creators, blew up, reached 10K followers easily, and even 100K followers, some of them are reaching. But once that undue advantage stopped coming, and once they started seeing the reality of how much effort needs to be put into a content to go viral every time, and it was not happening every time, that is when the dopamine comes back to the normal levels, and then they feel like shit, then they lose the motivation. So I completely agree with that point. You should do it from the perspective of making yourself better and exploring yourself to be a better version of yourself. Even today, right now when we're talking, this wouldn't have been possible for me last year. I will not be able to express myself like this.
Of course.
I remember when I reached 10,000 followers, a person reached out to me to do a podcast like this, and it was on Zoom. I was so freaking nervous that firstly he told me what questions is going to be asked. I mean, this is completely raw right now. I don't know what questions he's asking. We're just having completely random conversation. But back then I asked him what questions he's going to ask, and I memorized it. I scripted everything. I knew what exactly I was going to say, and even then I bombed that
conversation.
Podcast, conversation. It was so difficult for me to express myself. And now, by virtue of creating content, talking to people, meeting new guys, meeting new people, and experimenting with different sort of things, I've definitely become 10 times more confident than what I was. Right? And that wouldn't have been possible without content creation. And it is so important to be confident, man. Expressing yourself. Even though you're the smartest guy in the room, if you cannot express it, nobody knows about it.
I agree. I think the number one skill that every single person should start from whenever they gain consciousness is to learn how to say and express exactly what they want to. The skill of articulation is one of the most underrated and undervalued skill that people don't even think about.
Absolutely. Most people think it's about being the smartest guy. I mean, most CEOs today are not the smartest guys. They're the ones who surround themselves with the smartest guys and are able to articulate the vision in the best way possible. Those are the guys who get the big seats and the big jobs.
How do you become better at articulating yourself, according to you? How did you do it?
I think it's just by practicing, man. You will have those fears and all of that, but you just have to do it. For example, when I created my first YouTube video, it was a 10-minute video. It took me maybe 2 hours to shoot the entire video. And it is so difficult. I mean, right now it is so simple because we've done it so many times. But when you switch on the camera and you look at yourself, it is so difficult to talk to a camera when there's nobody else around. Right? So I would just say, it's, just practice. There's no shortcut or formula to be better at articulation. Just have to accept that, you're going to be shit in the beginning, but it's okay. I mean, it's part and parcel of the process, and don't say no to anything. For example, when that podcast opportunity came, and I was shitting my pants when that came, and even though I, bombed it, I'm grateful that I did it because that was the initial uncomfortable phase, which has helped me become who I am today and more confident version of me today.
What other moments, SIA, let's say, embarrassing moments, have been there for you that stand out in the last year and a half or two?
Embarrassing moment. I don't know, yaar. I mean, that was the biggest thing. But apart from that, I think I don't remember right now because when it happens, I think about it for some time and then I immediately move on to the next thing. Right? I immediately look on what went wrong and make it better. So right now I don't know what those moments were which were embarrassing to me because I don't hold on to it for long. Because the moment you hold on to it for long, it stunts your growth.
Nice.
And you start to doubt yourself. So immediately when that happens, I understand what's wrong because I'm in the short form content creation space and you have to churn out content quickly on a much higher frequency. So because of that, I had to let go of that embarrassing moments as quickly as possible, think of the next thing and move on. So now I don't remember what those things are by virtue of having to shift your mindset immediately.
You're right. This short form content wala game is very tedious.
Yeah, it is very tedious. I mean, it's not enough to just have content, or it's not just enough to have useful content. It is important to be entertaining in short form content because in YouTube, in long form content, you for lack of a better word, you are competing with other creators in your own domain, right? In your own domain because it's a search based content which is coming. A person is searching for your content and it's coming. In short form content, nobody is searching for anything. It's all shoved down your throat. So I'm competing with stand-up comedians, I'm competing with dancers, I'm competing with singers, I'm competing with all of them. So in order to stand out from them and make a person stop at your short form content and watch it, you need to have something so special and so innovative that a person would be willing to watch your boring finance knowledge over, let's say, a very, very funny stand-up comedian show. For that, you need to ensure that every single word and line that you say is so crisp and so well structured that you can maintain his engagement or maintain his attention for the entire 60 seconds. So that's why it's becomes very, very hectic.
Or you can be outlandish or really pretty and dance, and then people will stop and look at it anyway.
Yeah, you could do that, but I can't do any of those things. That's why I do skits.
No, I meant tedious from the perspective of having to churn out content like a machine. I mean, machine, for the lack of a better word. Let's say routine.
Yeah.
Like if you're not putting out, this is what I've seen, if you're not putting out content, let's say once every 2 days or once every day, if you're not adhering to the whims and fancies of the platform,
the algorithm,
the platform, it becomes very difficult to sustain and grow. And like you mentioned, Instagram आपको शुरू में growth देगा, आपको लगेगा क्या बढ़िया platform है, फिर आप सब छोड़ छाड़ के Instagram में काम करना शुरू कर दोगे, and Instagram will then give you the harsh reality.
Right.
And I think it's mostly Instagrams के लिए from the perspective of a platform, it makes sense. उनको चाहिए नए creators so that people will continue to stay on that platform.
Yeah.
But it affects the creator that are going through the sad stage a lot.
Absolutely. I mean, I can't count the number of down phases I've had in terms of, your mental health and stability, right? And it was so difficult in the beginning, I'll tell you, right? You want to quit so bad, right? It's like, it's so difficult to, because it's not something that you're ever used to, right? Yeah. The dopamine reaches so high, right? When you see, let's say, a million views for the first time, the dopamine gets so high that you would have never experienced that kind of joy ever before. Like, million people watched you, right? So many people liking, commenting, saying good stuff about you. Yeah. And when that finally goes, you're not able to deal with it. And then you're not able to, and let's say you're not able to figure out how to get that again. You're not able to deal with that, right? And then you feel like every single day, or every single second of the day, you're just thinking what's wrong, what to do next, why is it not working? It's an enormous amount of stress. So you need to figure out a way how to distance yourself from that. Even today, it's difficult. But I figured out a way to just be bothered by it, maybe 1 or 2 hours a day max.
You schedule time to be bothered by it.
Yeah, I mean, immediately after I post, I will be, super engaged in what's happening. I'll see how it's performing. And if it doesn't perform well, I won't lie, it still feels very bad. Even after creating content for 1 year, it feels shitty. And you start questioning yourself, what went wrong? Kya hua? Is this how it's going to be again? Is this how it's going to continue forever? Yeah. Have I lost it? Am I not interesting enough? All those things will be in your head. You'll talk to your friends. I'll talk to my sister. What happened? What's wrong? What did happen? We did everything right. Why is it still going bad? Yeah. So all those things will be there. But it's there for 2 hours these days. 2 hours will happen.
So वो schedule हो गया अब.
हो गया?
नहीं. As in that time for you to.
It's like 2 hours. 2 hours I will 2 hours I will think about it, and then it's important to surround yourself with the people who are going through the same phase. So right now I live with Ayush Shukla, who is a dear friend of both of us, who is also a content creator and my brand manager and the founder of Finnet Media. So I talk to him, people who are going through the same journey as you. So that helps you kind of humanize with them and understand that this is normal. And then you just figure out what to do next, right? That's ho gaya jo ho gaya. Just figure out what to do next. But when I began, it was an entire day of worrying about it, right? Worrying about it. And that's very hard to do it in the beginning. Yeah. Right? So it was very hard in the beginning. Won't lie.
I think one of the ways to do it, how I have adapted to doing or handling, let's say, criticism or ups and downs in the space, is to again have a different North Star metric that you're approaching.
Right.
It is never for me कि मेरा अगला वीडियो कितना अच्छा परफॉर्म करेगा या नहीं करेगा. For me, it has always been कि अगर मेरा ये वीडियो 5 लोगों ने भी देखा, so did it give value to them?
Right.
The people that stick to the end of the video, and I'm talking YouTube, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I've got this conversation is probably going to be 2 hours.
Right.
For someone who sticks to the end, did they get value out of it or not?
Right.
And once you have that as a North Star metric, then none of the criticism bothers you at all.
I've tried to make that my North Star.
It's difficult. It's not easy to do.
Very difficult.
It is not easy to do.
I kept fooling myself, at least these many people saw, and I was like, who are you kidding, man?
No, that is not.
It's not. I'm not able to think of it that way. It's very difficult to come to that mindset.
Yeah.
That at least 5 people are getting value out of it. It's very difficult to think like that, when the alternative is like, million views, right? Yeah. That dopamine is so high. Like, I'm very difficult to prioritize this over that. And I think what you've done, and if you're saying you've mastered it, I envy you.
It took a while. Yeah. I mean, I've been doing this for good 5-6 years.
If every content creator could have that mindset, there will be a lot more content creators.
There'll be better content creators.
Yeah, definitely.
Because it is very easy content creation to create viral content. At this point, there are new trends coming out every 2 days. Like Instagram literally sends you an email.
Yeah.
If you are an Instagram creator, born on Instagram.com पे जाओ, sign up there. It will tell you कि इस हफ्ते हम कौन सा hashtag promote कर रहे हैं.
Right.
It will tell you कि last week के क्या trends थे. So you can, if you want to be an Instagram creator, capitalize on that.
Yeah. I don't do any of that, by the way. I don't follow trends at all.
You don't.
I don't do any
I'm talking from a very general perspective.
Yeah.
If you want to become a viral content creator, it is very easy to do. It is not difficult. The difficult thing is to build an audience from scratch, from zero. Because the worst thing that can happen to any content creator is going viral.
Is going viral. Why?
Again, from that perspective.
Because you don't have those deep connections with those sudden influx of
because you suddenly become popular and you get again the dopamine goes high ना.
Yeah.
एक इंसान जिसने अभी एक बढ़िया सा रील डाला या बढ़िया सा YouTube वीडियो डाला, for whatever reason they think ये ठीक है, ट्रेंड बढ़िया चल रहा है, हम डालते हैं, they get 10 million views or 1 million views or even 100,000 or even 10,000 views. उनका तो दिन बन गया. And now they'll be like कि ठीक है, I've done this once, I can do this again. Well, they have no clue कि it was not them or their effort.
I don't know how it happened. It's like
yeah. So for the next time they do it doesn't work out.
That is exactly what happened with me, by the way. I had like 700, 800 followers.
Yeah.
And then one video reached 1 million views. It's like my sister was in that video.
Yeah.
Right? So it was the first time I did a collab with my sister.
Yeah.
It was a trend. And from 800 to it reached 10,000 followers in 1 week.
Wow.
Right? And obviously I thought I can do it again. So फिर से I told my sister एक और बनाते हैं.
Yeah.
So it didn't happen.
So that is the vicious circle that you fall down, no?
It didn't happen, and that is the exact phase when I had those ultimate stress which I was talking about earlier. That is the phase when it happened because I got that sudden influx. The expectation was so high that I couldn't repeat it, and then the sudden stress.
Would you call yourself a competitive person?
Definitely, very competitive. I like to see how I'm performing compared to others. I like to see what other people are doing which works. So for me, scrolling on Reels is not, it is entertainment as well, but I like to see what other people are doing. I like to see what other tactics are being used by the content creators. Because let's be real, right? Whatever things that I've done, which has worked for me, it's on the shoulders of other people. I've seen something work with other people. I've tried to put my own flavor into it and made it my own. It's not that I've come up with something unique. Some of the things that have come unique, for example, my Batman skit, all of that are unique. But skits, right? There were skits before me.
Of course.
Shakespeare started skits, not me. So I'm standing on the shoulders of great people here.
Yeah.
So definitely I take motivation from other people as well. I'm definitely competitive that way. And I think it's important to some extent because it makes you a little bit more determined and it gives you that drive in you to be better and better. So, it's not too much also is not good. It becomes toxic sometimes, but to a certain extent it is important because it is a competitive space, I would say.
When you started creating content and when you started getting popular and when you started interacting with other people, let's say, let's hypothetical scenario or not even a hypothetical scenario, must have happened. When you were creating content, you were seeing other people blow up and get better. What was your perception of those other people at that point?
Of course, I got jealous. Of course, I'm going to be honest. Definitely you get jealous. You'll be like, let's say, not just of the people who were smaller than me and then became bigger than me, of people who were already big, right? Of them also I was jealous, right? Why can't I do that? I used to, my content is better than them. Why are they bigger than me? I used to have that, definitely. Most people, content creators who say no, they're lying. All of us have that. And then when a person who's smaller than you becomes bigger than you, that level of jealousy is something else only, right? Ye kya ho raha hai bhai? I am making such good content. Why is Instagram favoring them? What are they doing which is better than me? So that is definitely there.
And then when you met those creators in person, I'm sure you must have met many of them.
Yeah.
What was the perception then? Like
it's varying. Some of them are really nice people. Some of them have completely changed my perception of what initial perception I have about them. They completely reversed it. It varies. I won't say all of them are nice.
So on an individual level, what is that journey like? Like how do you, let's say there's a creator that you saw कि ठीक है ये मेरे से ज़्यादा grow हो रहा है. Or let's forget about creators. From an individual level, you have a perception of a person that you met or you have been observing in this space. You're very competitive about it. And then you meet them. And what is that internal quarrel or battle that happens within the shift of this perspective for you?
So I think what happened with me was, when I knew them, when I discovered them, they were bigger than me, right? And in this space, number of followers is directly proportional to the government that you have. Right? That is true. That is true. I mean, most people would say, no, you'll have to be down to earth. Number of followers is nothing. They're just vanity metrics. If someone is like that, avoid them. But I think most people, to some degree or the other, we are like that to some extent. It's very difficult to interact with the person knowing that there's nothing you're going to gain from him. But it's very difficult for me, but I do that, right? It's like, I have to talk to this guy when, let's say, Tanmay Bhatt is standing there. I want to talk to him. I don't want to talk to this guy. Ho jata hai. But I understand that I was there where this guy was, and my value or my advice to him might actually help him out, right? So what happened with me was, when I was in Dubai, and some few small content creators reached out to me, and they started talking to me. Initially, I was like, time waste hoga, barbad hoga. I ended up talking to them for 2 hours. And I actually learned more from them than the value that I added to them. Because these guys were creators in the crypto space. So that, those kind of things also happen. So it's very important to, let go of those vanity metrics sometimes and talk to anybody and anyone. But coming back to the question, which was
exactly this. How does that, like you described the answer pretty well.
Okay.
The internal struggle कैसे होता है वो. The perception that you're meeting the person.
Right.
ऐसे. I'll tell you, for me, it has like slight disagreement there, which is that I've always, when I started out in this space, I've always been interacting with people who had great numbers.
With?
Great numbers.
Okay.
Like YouTube pe millions of followers. And
you always interact with people with great
this is because I knew Jay.
Huh.
And Jay knew all those people. So vicariously I happened to interact with them.
Right.
And it was initially it became very important, and not even important. I could experience firsthand the difference between a creator who is creating for the purpose of expressing themselves and between a creator who is creating because unko numbers chahiye.
Okay.
And it became almost second-hand nature for me to avoid this second level wala creator.
Who are only behind numbers.
Yeah, who are only behind numbers. Because there is nothing that I can tell them or they can tell me which would give value to either of us. They are on a different path. They have different priorities. Good for them. Please continue.
Right.
But I did not get that desire to even interact with them for that matter. And thankfully for that.
Who are these? Can you name them? No,
lots of people. I mean, there's no point of naming them also.
Question. Yeah.
Trick question. The point that I'm trying to make here is that thankfully I've always had the opportunity to interact with people that are not वैसे कि यार ठीक है इसके नंबर नहीं है या फिर मेरे नंबर से ज़्यादा है तो उनके पास वो रहता है. And luckily because I've known those people, so when I happen to interact with them, other people know कि ठीक है this person is familiar with these guys, so he has some sort of an understanding or an upper hand वगैरह. So it became थोड़ा easier for me. But in the content creation space now, and even not even content creation, in just this social media wala space, I was speaking to a founder of a company who's doing something for monetization of creators.
Okay.
And he gave me a number that there are at least 2 lakh people who are doing content creation full time in this country.
Okay, wow.
And that is a huge number.
Yes, of course. 2 lakh people.
So out of those 2 lakh people, you will meet people who want to do it for money. You will meet people who want to do it for fame. And you will also happen to meet people who want to do it just for the purpose of doing it. And I have now at this point become very content with finding those people interacting with just them. So ho jata hai aisa. Which is why I don't anymore feel that competitive wala feeling anymore.
No, I think that's very well said. And I think, but especially when it comes to education content creators, I think all of us would like to inherently believe that we are doing it to help the people who are watching our content. But somewhere along the way, our values get a little bit altered without us knowing about it.
That is the natural. यार तुम्हारे को वही तुम्हारे को आदत नहीं है इतना validation की, इतने पैसे की, इतनी approval की. If someone throws it at you in such a small amount of time, it is bound to change.
Right.
I would be surprised at a person who doesn't change their values at this point, because they have something entirely different going on in their head then.
Right.
But no, there is a downside to what I'm doing, of course. The downside is that I can never be a part of this competitive race. I can never be a part of, even if I want to, I wouldn't be able to challenge these people at this point. If today I start to figure out कि ठीक है मेरे Instagram पे भी इतने follower है, मेरे को 6 महीने इतने में पहुंचना है, I would not be able to adhere to that routine of creating 3 videos a week, posting 5 stories every day, posting 2 photos a week, going out to places to meet people, to interact with them, to make those connections वगैरह. It is not possible for me to do it at this point.
Right.
So that is the downside. But उसका upside बहुत ज़्यादा है for me personally.
What is the upside?
The upside is that when I do get to meet people, when I do get to interact with those people, the experience is so enlightening, so wholesome, so empowering. कि I know कि उस इंसान को भी उतना ही फ़ायदा हुआ है जितना मुझे हुआ है, and that फ़ायदा cannot be quantified at all. I wholeheartedly believe that you can earn money easily, you can get followers easily. But the real value that you can drive to the world is when you meet and empower other people in whatever way and capacity that you can.
Right.
तो बस वही है. बट उसका डाउनसाइड ये है कि आई कैन नेवर कम्पीट इन द रेस की ठीक है मेरे को अभी 100 इसके 100,000 फॉलोअर हो गए, मेरे को भी 100,000 करना है. वो रेस से मैं बहुत दूर भाग चुका हूँ.
I think to reach a point where you have reached, you would have to create content for as long as you have.
Definitely, definitely.
I have just done it for 1 year, right? And I'm still in that mindset where और चाहिए और ज़्यादा.
Which is a great mindset to have. I think it's a very important mindset to have for someone to. I mean, it's a very important mindset to have. अगर तुम grow कैसे करोगे? Like at this point, half of the people listening to me speak this way will be like कि हाँ ठीक है, इसके views नहीं आ रहे इसलिए कह रहा है ऐसा.
Okay.
Which it's also part of it. But again, it depends on an individual to individual on finding what your artistic calling is. At least I would like to believe that.
Right.
But हाँ, competitive feeling. How do you still have that competitive feeling अभी? As in, do you still look at creators and be like यार ये मेरे से अच्छा क्यों कर रहा है? That way?
No, I'll tell you what. I thought I wouldn't have after a certain point. So when initially I was just looking at finance content creators.
Yeah.
That is my niche. So मैं उसमें देखूँगा. And even within finance content creators there are a lot of distinction. Like ये बंदा he's like speaking some surface level knowledge, कुछ business वाला knowledge he's talking, and that's the end of it. But there are some content creators who are getting into the core of finance. And I was one of them, so I was like only comparing amongst them. I was just to make myself feel better. I don't want to compare against them because they're higher following, but they're only talking surface level knowledge, gyan. So I won't consider them in my group.
All lies that we tell ourselves to feel better.
So first I was competing against them. I became the top person over here. Ho gaya. Who do I compare against next? These guys, who I thought are not my competition. So once I started beating them as well, then even those people who are like high level gyan wala log, I beat them as well. And I'm higher than them. Now there's nobody left to compete with. I'm at the top in the education content space right now. Who do I compete against next? Now I'm slowly looking at lifestyle content creators. Now I have to be better than them also. So it doesn't stop the competition. You always want to have someone to compare yourself
the
with.
Goalpost is always
that's
moving.
how it is.
The goalpost
because that's
is always
how
moving.
I keep myself driven and motivated. Like now these guys have to beat them somehow. Even though they have nothing to do with my niche, right? They're like lifestyle content creators or dancing. I want to beat them now. It's like that. So I know it's
do you think this is a good?
It's bad to have it, but it's working for me. Right. Sorry, what do you say?
मैं यही पूछ रहा था. Do you think it is a good criteria to have in life?
For me, it works. I don't know if having that has made me better. I don't know. But that's the kind of person I am. Like I said, a topper from school. I mean, coming back to how we started talking about this, I've been a topper from school, 11th and 12th, cram school, competing with the best of the state. So I think all of those have been embedded in me, and I think like that for almost anything that I do. Very competitive that way. I always want to be the best.
And do you think that like at this moment, do you think this feeling will ever change? This competitive nature?
I don't know.
Would you want it to change?
See, it depends. Right now, everything is going good for me, and touch wood, everything is going good for me, and I think by virtue of being competitive, it has helped me reach where I am. But for example, let's say when I was in 11th and 12th, I was competitive, but the other people were so intelligent, and that no matter how much hard I studied, they had that raw intelligence in them that I could never surpass them no matter how hard I tried. And at that point of time, if I still had that competitive nature in me, I would have fallen, right? I would have, completely lost my way. I would have been like, kuch nahi hoga mujhe, I'll just sit at home and forget about it. So it's important to pivot. That is important.
True.
I thought of becoming a scientist. I realized I'm not the smartest guy. Pivot. Engineering. Went into engineering. Realized that this is not for me. Pivot. So it's for me. I think it's important to be competitive, but know who to compete with. Right? When you realize that this is not your cup of tea, pivot. That's. I think that's what has worked for me.
I think you are also facing the same dilemma right now.
Right.
We'll talk about that in a bit, but I mean, when you look back at this podcast, let's say 6 months from now, then thoda hindsight mein alag lagega. But you want to go to college abroad. Let's start there.
Yeah, so I mean, see, that has been a dream of mine since I started watching Hollywood movies.
Right? To live in America and study there?
Yeah, live in America and study there.
Particularly America?
Particularly America. I used to love Hollywood movies, and that's all I watch even now. I don't watch Hindi movies a lot, very few. Amir Khan movies and all those I watch, which are really well made.
Yeah.
I don't watch those item song movies, and I try not to watch.
Fair.
So I've always wanted to go to US and study, and that is a story which has been fed to me by my parents as well. This guy has gone to US. He's doing so much good stuff, earning so much, big company, living in the US. So that has always been sold as an ideal dream. I don't think it's just for me. I think many kids are exposed to that.
I mean, we can have an entire conversation how America has dominated our lives to the point we think of ourselves as inferior to them, and if we don't go there, our lives will not be fulfilled. But that's a different conversation.
It feels like that is
that is the dream.
That is the dream. It feels like that.
Yes.
I'm not saying that our life will be worthless if you not go there. It feels that your life will be better if you go there. So that's the dream that has been, that is the story that I've been fed since I was young. So once I, even during engineering, the dream was, engineering ke baad masters, US karenge.
Yes, sir.
Now it's like, I did management, so now I'll do MBA there. So that has always been there. But what has happened last year is that content creation has worked out so well that it has, surpassed my wildest expectations. Surpassed even the best case scenario of what will happen to me if I stay in the US, right? It has reached that level. So right now, like you said, I'm in a dilemma. Should I go to US and do my MBA or double down on content creation and stay in India and explore other adjacent opportunities which can be empowered through my content creation? Let's say doing TV ads, which we've already started doing, or getting more into the acting space, move to Mumbai and try my hand at acting. So that sort of things have started coming to my head. But these are obviously, the unconventional paths, the more riskier paths, which most people don't do. So I'm still in a dilemma, and I'm talking to people. I've talked to you, I've talked to Aish.
Yeah.
So people are giving me differing opinions, but most people are saying don't go and stay here.
Most people are saying don't go.
Most people are saying, obviously people who I've known in my life before, who are not in the content creation space, they are telling go, because obviously, right? They don't know what content creation is about. They think it's just short-lived, or they don't know how long I'll be able to do it. So they're
which is a fair argument.
Which is a fair argument. Yeah, they don't know how long I'll be able to do it. Go to MBA, and once you have that MBA stamp, it's like for lifelong you're sorted. That is also
fair. I would call it a fair argument.
It is fair, but it's not 100% certain.
It's a fair argument, not a valid one though.
Not 100% certain, but it's like to some extent, yeah. It's like IIT tag, right? Once you get IIT tag, people will say, wherever you say IIT, you're like, oh, IIT.
That's not true also. I've met people from IITs, I've interviewed people from IITs, and just having that tag, to be very honest, is not enough anymore.
But the initial perception, right? Getting the foot in the door.
Yeah.
It does that job, right? And then after that, it's your effort, but it at least gets the foot in the door. For example, when I tried to get into consulting, I wanted to get into the McKinsey, BCG and Bain, because those are the top consulting firms in the world. It turns out, they don't tell all this openly. They will, encourage everyone to submit applications and all of that. But they immediately filter out applications which do not have IIT tag or IIM tag in it. Immediately, right? It's because they have so many applications from these colleges itself that it becomes a task for them to filter from this.
And it's not even
even look at other colleges?
Not even the hiring people. It's their systems that do it.
Yeah,
it's not even the people doing it. It's the computers doing
it. Correct. And one more reason is because these firms work with clients, big companies, and they sell these projects to them for a huge amount of money. One of the selling point is, IIT guys will work on this. IIM wala banda isme kaam karega.
Yeah.
So that becomes the selling point. So telling, my college, RV college, that's only well known in Karnataka.
Yeah.
But to tell a client in Delhi, RV college banda kaam karega, it doesn't mean shit.
Yeah.
So that's the problem. So pedigree is important, right? Having good brand name is important to get the foot in the door. I'm not saying it's the secret to success. Getting a foot in the door, which is very important in a country like India, very difficult.
I think globally as well.
But
very
in India
important.
especially.
Yeah.
So that's why tag is important. So that is the point which people who don't know about content creation are telling. But people who are in the content creation space are obviously very risk-taking by very nature of it, because that's how they are in the content creation space. Content creation is risky. So they will give me the answer from that perspective. Like, because the upside of doing all the other things is so high that they will tell me to go for that. Because they are risk-taking by nature. So, and I personally, from the reason why I was doing content creation and job simultaneously is because I'm a very risk-averse person.
You want to have a safety net.
Even after content creation was making me, let's say, equal amount of money what this was giving, I still didn't leave. Even after it was giving me 2 times, I didn't leave. 5 times, I didn't leave. 10 times, now I left. That's how risk-averse I am.
So I'll give you a different perspective. I think it is very important for an individual to always find opportunities that can help them grow exponentially. Content creation at this point for you has already done that.
Right.
So you went from, let's say, 0 to 1 or let's say 0 to 100. Whatever you do next in the content creation space is only going to increase in the increments of 10s, 20s, 30s.
True.
Of course, there is also a possibility that you can go from 10 to 1000.
Yeah.
But the possibility of that is even less
True.
compared to you going from 0 to 100.
Yeah.
So that is one point. But because you haven't experienced this yet, going abroad, studying, living in a different culture, living in a different scenario, meeting different kind of people with different mindsets,
right,
that would definitely help you grow from this current state where you're at to the next 100. And I can tell you a very basic example for anyone watching this at this point.
Yeah.
Go search on YouTube the TV ads that run in the US.
Okay.
अभी I think last week हम बैठे हुए थे, Hulu पे कुछ देख रहे थे, and Hulu is an ad supported service. So ads आ रहे थे बीच में. Hulu.
हाँ, that's a Disney run.
I think, yes.
Okay.
तो बीच में ads आ रहे थे. And more than the show that I was watching, I was more intrigued about the ads that were playing.
Okay.
Because we are at least 5 years behind in having that sort of a mindset that people can understand those ads.
Okay. So that's so innovative, their ads.
So it's just so ahead of what people here think.
Okay.
The people there, like for example, the very simple thing. Ad आने से पहले Hulu मेरे को पूछा आपको कौन सा ad देखना है. हाँ. कि आपको इस प्रोडक्ट का ad देखना है, आपको इस प्रोडक्ट का ad देखना है.
Okay.
Just
How do
that.
you tell? Like click on it.
I mean, imagine the implications or the implications of that choice. You're literally making people choose कि तुम कौन सा ad देख रहे हो.
But how do you select? Do you tell on the remote?
Yeah.
Okay.
And just that concept blew my mind to an extent कि ये लोग कितना आगे हैं हमसे. Just in terms of how they think, how they operate, the opportunities that are there. And those are the things that will help you grow exponentially. And you, let's say, for you personally, you're going to a college which is a reputed college, you're doing a great course.
Right.
I honestly would think it would add more value than staying here and even becoming a Bollywood star.
Really?
I think so, because the reason I went abroad was exactly this.
Okay.
When I did my undergrad, I chose to study a course which I definitely wanted to study.
Okay.
But I did not prioritize a good college because मेरे marks उतने नहीं थे कि मेरे को उतना college में मिल जाए.
Okay.
So I did Delhi University से literature because I wanted to study literature.
Okay.
And at that point, wholeheartedly still believe in the best decision I would have made. But that desire was still there कि मेरे को किसी world class education से पढ़ाई करनी है. And that year, even though 4 months of that year was spent in a lockdown and COVID, but just those 6-8 months of being with different kind of people, having an engagement in a different kind of environment, having an education in a different kind of environment, living in a city like London, helped me grow more than I would have in the first 4 years of my job.
Wow.
I think I worked for 3 years and I was in college for 3 years and I was pretty active in my extracurriculars throughout school. But that 1 year was more in terms of growth than those last 8 years combined.
Wow.
So for you, the decision should not be based on what can I do which will give me more validation or money or desire, जो भी तुम्हें चाहिए इधर.
You're saying I should look at like a transformational experience.
Yes. Because again, once you have that goal, 2 years you spend in the US, it would give you so many different perspectives that you will never be able to have here. just by virtue of it being a different culture.
Right.
So if that is the priority, if that is something that motivates you or you're inclined towards, कि मेरे को ये चाहिए, मेरे को different perspective चाहिए, मेरे को as an individual grow होना है, मेरे को as a creative person grow होना है,
right,
I think then it's a great decision to go there. People study for years to get GMAT का अच्छा score,
right,
and then never able to do it.
I studied for 3 years. I mean, I started from engineering and then on and off it was too hectic.
Yeah.
And finally I was able to crack it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How much did you score GMAT में?
730.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
काफी अच्छी बात है. So again, there's no one that can tell you whether you should go or whether you should not go.
Right.
Pros and cons दोनों side.
I think finally it has to come from me only, right? What is it? What
yes, and the decision and the criterion on which you should base that decision on would be that what do you want to do for the next 2 years? Do you want to earn a lot of money here because that is a very valid opportunity that you have, or you want to study there or you want to study and grow there? These are the choices that you're making. It's not becoming a content creator. It's not finding an MBA.
It's not either of them. I would not go there to make more money because I think the opportunities of making money
are there as well.
It might be more there also, or it might be more here also. I think it can go either ways. Why would I want to go there is because of the reason that you said, right? It could be a transformational experience because in my class,
it could be
there
negative.
will be people from 90 countries.
Yes.
Right? You get different perspectives from people in India alone of the same country who have different upbringing in different states. Imagine what will happen when people from 90 countries are put in the same class and made to think about something.
And
right? This is one of the reasons why I want to go. And second thing is, obviously that the dream of young boy Sharan of living in US and experiencing that life.
I think that dream should be fulfilled. Plus it gives you an added challenge, right?
Right.
You're there, you're doing the MBA vagara thing.
Right.
It gives you the added challenge to still stay relevant here. Because I don't know if it's how correct this is, but beyond reaching a certain stage in the content creation space, you start to get bored. कि हम क्या नया करें?
That's true.
How do I level up? What is the next thing that I can do which will give me the same amount of dopamine that getting 100,000 followers or getting my first million views while a reel, that for you even getting 1 million followers would.
Yeah.
Like for you to get that same dopamine just from numbers, you would have to hit 10 million on Instagram.
No, I'll tell you what. The dopamine release that I got when I reached 10,000 followers has never been reached again. It has never been reached again. Because from 0 to 10,000 was from nothing to 10,000. Right? But from 10,000 to 100,000 was from something to something more.
So you get that
I didn't get that dopamine release again.
100,000
to 1 million was even lesser dopamine release from 10,000 to 100,000. So it has been reducing. It doesn't give more kick. So there's 1 million to 10 million if it happens or not. I don't think it'll give me that dopamine release again. It doesn't. It's not that same dopamine release. It's because it's monotonous now.
Yeah.
It's like not very different.
Yeah.
So I completely.
And that is the downside of the content creation or even the social media space, that most people don't get it until they reach that point.
Right.
That you can continue doing the same thing and people will continue watching, but you will lose every bit of your creative self.
Right.
Because it becomes monotonous every passing day if you're doing the same thing. The whole point of
always keep yourself challenging. Put yourself in challenging environments.
Not necessarily challenging, but where you feel कि यार तुम grow कर रहे हो.
Yeah.
I think
you grow when you're challenged.
So
yeah.
I think it's very important for you to find new ways to challenge yourself where you know कि I can grow better. Like your point, 0 to 10,000 पहुंचना was a great 0 to 1 shift. I think 0 to 1 is a startup terminology. You go from 0 to 1. You only get the satisfaction from going to 0 to 1. 1 to 2, 2 to 100 में उतना खुशी नहीं मिलेगा जितना 0 से 1 आने में मिलेगा.
Right.
That is true for everything you do in life.
Yeah.
So find more places where you can get that 0 to 1 wala feeling.
Yeah. True.
Like for me to create a YouTube video with 1 million views, I think I have 1 or 2 videos at this point जिन पे million views हैं. That first video is still the best feeling ever.
Yeah.
Not even 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, not even earning a lot of money gave that. That 1 million views wala video, great.
Which was that video which got 1 million views?
I think the AIB video
is
the one that got it. Yeah. But again, उसके बाद वो dopamine same चीज़ के लिए I had to start creating podcast to get that same level of release. Because I figured out कि ठीक है, million views वाला video अगर मैं ऐसे ही down and rise and fall पे बनाता रहूँगा. There was a time when I started content creation. I think for 1 year, every Tuesday, I uploaded a rise and fall video. Rise and fall.
What, rise and?
Rise and fall. As in pick up stories tell about what happened, what went wrong, वगैरह वाला series got me great views.
The rise and fall of a story. Okay.
Yeah, the rise and fall of a company, of a person, of an individual.
Got it.
By the time I went to that 50-second video, I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? Why am I doing this?
Right.
I needed something else to find me that same level of satisfaction creatively.
Right.
I think that is when the podcast. I think that is when I opened 7 YouTube channels.
Oh yeah, you told me about this. Yeah. That is
again that same
next level shit.
That same desire कि I want to get challenged to figure out कि what can I do that gets me from 0 to 1. So I think it is very important to find yourself in those situations or actively put yourself in those situations जहाँ पे तुम वो 0 to 1 वाला feeling ले सको.
Nice.
I think your decision should be based on that. Not about it. You've reached a point where content creation is second-hand nature to you. Yeah. I'm not saying it's easy.
Yeah.
But you know what to do. You know how to improve. You know what are the levels that you can reach.
Right. True.
But MBA would be a different experience.
True. 100%.
What do you think would be the downsides of going to MBA there?
I think one is the obvious one that it might be difficult to connect with my audience from halfway around the world. Obviously, not geographically, but maybe, it might be difficult to connect with what's happening in India. I mean, most people feel that when they're in a different country, it might be difficult to keep up with what's happening in India. Yeah. Right? Even though if you're reading the news and all that, it's not the same. Like with interacting with people in India and learning about India from Indians. That'd be one thing. Second thing I would see is the opportunity cost of doing something more tangential to the content creation space. For example, acting. Right? I love acting, right? And I really think I could do something out of that. And I know it's a very competitive industry, right? And it has its own challenges and very low success rate. But I think by wanting to do that, and if I'm able to crack it, right, I think that joy will be very high, because that would give me such a big boost of, again, that 0 to 1 thing, right? That I did this, right? Which is such a coveted thing and such a competitive thing and something that I would enjoy doing, right? It won't feel like work. Acting doesn't feel like work to me, and I just keep getting better and better at it. So if I can crack that, I think that is what I want to do more than anything. Like if you ask me, if I had all the money in the world and if I want to do a job which doesn't pay, it would be acting, right? So that would be it. So that is the thing what I thought about. But going to an MBA, I mean, you get the societal validation. MBA kar raha hai, Ivy League college, US mein hai, living in New York and all of that stuff. All that is there. But if you go back to the same question, would I do it if I had all the money in the world? Living in New York, maybe yeah. But maybe working for a corporate, wearing suits and traveling.
You can act in New York. तुम acting New York में भी कर सकते हो.
हाँ, कर सकते हो. I mean, all that is possible. So what I'm saying is, if the question is just that simple question, would I be doing working in a corporate culture, on the path to become CEO or what of that?
I don't think that.
I don't think I want to do that if I had all the money in the world, because I'm more of a person who likes to have more experiences and likes to add value to people and not make rich people richer. I think I'm more of that sort of a person.
But I think if you look at, the conversation that we have had. From this perspective, you which 0 to 1 battle do you want to pick first? Yeah, I think I am certain you would want to pick both of them at certain points in life.
Yeah, definitely. So I would want to pick both of them, definitely. Right now the dilemma is because going for my MBA is the easier, getting the foot into the door part of it, 0 to 1 method, because that's like a short thing, almost like a short thing that you will be successful once you get a degree from that college. Yeah. But the other alternative which I have is a very risky alternative, but a more exciting alternative and has a bigger pot of gold at the end.
I mean, to be fair, you can always go get a degree and come back and try. And then go back if the...
But what I've realized is timing is very important for what I've heard. And when I interacted with like billionaires, right? And I asked them, it is what is the secret to their success? And a very juvenile question. With a very straightforward and simple answer, that it is not so much about how hard you worked or how intelligent people are around you. It's more about the timing. Like you pushed a product at a certain point of time which clicked. And then, I know first move, that is the first mover advantage. And there it is possible for a second mover to come and take the market share eventually. But that's very hard. Bharat Pay has done that. That's one example. But most people that you ask, when they ask, for example, even in the content creation space, right? I had a first mover advantage. I did it at a very perfect time. Yeah. Pandemic happened, Reels launched, And that is exactly when I put personal finance content, which nobody else is doing. Triple the marker of timing, right? So that is very important. If I did that today in such a competitive space, so many content creators already out there. I don't think I'll be able to pull it off because if I start now, I will not be able to start off with skits. I will start off with the version which started off, in my first reel. I'll start off like that. So if I think that I'm going to start off with skits, no, I won't be this good when I start off. So that's the thing. So timing is very important, I feel. So I don't know if going and coming back I may be possible, but I feel I might lose out on the timing advantage because this industry is fast moving, and I think content creation will be very, very big in this. In the next 2-3 years, I think are very crucial in content creation in India and possibly around the world.
I think we look at timing very differently, me and you.
Okay.
I look at timing from the perspective of first, what do I want to do? What will give me the most satisfaction under say?
Right.
And then I do efforts to make things align.
Make things?
To make things align that way.
Okay.
I know most people will... timing but a tricky cheez hai. You can work hard, you will never know if it will fit or not.
Yeah.
But I think timing for me personally is again, what do I want to do first? And then other things align. For example, at this moment, let's say I want to write a book. So I know कि मेरा end goal है, मेरे को book लिखना है. I know it will take a lot of time. So I will do everything in my power to spread my reachability and surface area to such a level that the chances of things aligning for me to achieve that goal are the maximum that they can be.
Okay.
And that gives me the most opportunity to actually achieve that goal.
Got it.
वो वही बात हो गई, कान आपको ऐसे पकड़ना है या ऐसे पकड़ना है. It's one and the same thing.
Right.
But I think the approach that you take, like your point is very valid, कि 2 साल में हो सकता है content creation moves beyond what I'm capable of doing.
Right.
Then I'll miss out on that opportunity.
Yeah.
I think it's
I think also depends on the industry. Like for you, what you said for you timing is about figuring out what you want to do and aligning other things along with that. I think that works well with a lot of industries. But in the industry that which is about relevance, which is about fame, face value, and all of that. All those things, I think, in that timing is very important. See, we always talk about, this era was this person's era.
Yeah.
This actor was famous back then. These 3 years is when he blew up. Right? This cricketer had his era back then.
So you want to...
Capitalizing on that particular era is important. Right? And even later, after you lose that, it's very difficult to sustain. I mean, Amitabh Bachchan is one of those few actors who's still relevant today.
Yeah.
Most actors are not able to do that. Most cricketers are not able to do that. Being relevant for a very long time. And I think that's very difficult, and it's very important to capitalize on the point where you're at your peak to get the most out of it.
I disagree.
You disagree?
I think you should quit when you're on your peak.
You should quit when?
You're at your peak.
At your peak?
Yeah.
Okay. But the thing is, you don't know what's your peak, right? That's the problem. So right now,
I think you get to know when your peak is. When you don't feel content anymore.
Okay.
When you start having doubts, is this something that I really want to do? Is this something that I really want to pursue for the next 2 years? That is when you know you've reached your peak. I'm not saying peak in terms of numbers, money, validation.
For me, right, in the content creation space, because we are doing educational content, I think that content is dependent on you.
Yeah.
I think that
it is always dependent upon the individual. It is never an external factor.
So as long as you're making content which you believe and to some extent is validated by your audience as well, that it is adding value to them. Like you meet people whenever you're in public and they come up to you and tell, I learned so much from this, right? And that gives me content that I'm actually helping people be better at money. So as long as I'm doing that, which is a long journey, by the way, which cannot be done in 1-2 years or even 5 years in a country like India where financial literacy is so low, right? And I think that's a long process. So as long as I'm doing that, which is I think is a long period, I think I'll always be content that knowing that I'm helping people be better at money and actually making a change in their life.
Agreed. But if ever at any point your brain starts to question, can I be doing something different? Can I be doing something else? Can I be doing something better?
Definitely.
But when that voice becomes at the same decibel level of the other contentment wala voice, I think that is when you know ki ab yahan pe, like it's time to figure out other things. For me it works that way.
Okay. What is the situation? What were you doing and what made you change into something else?
Happened a lot of times.
No, what was it? Like what was it you were doing and what is the voice which in your head which made you do something else?
So I never wanted to get a job. So right from my first semester of college, I started working with people, startups, figuring out design, वगैरह. So I found out that is my calling. I want to tell stories. I want to do it in the prettiest way possible. Which is good design, good storytelling. So I started working with startups. Great. I worked with content writing agencies. तो उसको plateau हो गया. Like I think for a college student, I was making around 15,000-20,000 a month. And I knew कि I can continue, take more workload, make this 20 to 40. But I realized कि content writing में मेरे को मज़ा नहीं आ रहा है. So I moved on to design. I designed for MUNs, designed for startups, designed for random people. मुझे लगा ठीक है यहाँ भी plateau हो गया है. तब यहाँ से move करने का time है. Then final year, people started applying for jobs वगैरह. I realized कि नहीं मेरे को job नहीं करना है. I want to work in a design agency. Like I now want to take on one big project for one client. वैसा. Did that for a couple of months. Got bored. Moved to a proper job. Very exciting job. You're working in a fintech startup. You're handling their content, marketing, design, everything I'd wanted in one space. Did that for 2.5 years. Got them from a point of zero to getting a funding. Figured out, okay, this is what I can do. This is the maximum role that I can play here. अब जब एक इंसान से, now they're capable enough of finding 3 people who can do these jobs and they can afford it, then my utility is done. I've gained as much as I could. Left to do a master's. Something that I wanted to study. उसके बाद पढ़ाई करते करते हो गया ठीक है ये भी हो गया. Now let's put all I can in content creation. Did my YouTube, grew my YouTube from 0 to 100,000 in a year.
Wow. Okay.
Again doing all of those things, rise and fall videos, analysis videos वगैरह. Figure out ठीक है ये भी मज़ा नहीं आ रहा है. Plateau हो गया है. Opened 7 channels. Tried out everything for a year. Very interesting. Gaming भी हो रहा है, productivity content भी हो रहा है, vlogs भी हो रहे हैं, बाकी चीज़ें भी चल रही हैं. Figure out ठीक है utility निकल गया. Started doing podcasts. Did podcast for a year, 52 episodes without a break. Got the podcast into the top 10 in the country. उसके बाद खत्म हो गया वो गया कि ठीक है हो गया है. तो similarly अभी उसके बाद वो last year पूरा वो phase चला कि ठीक है reel भी है. Last year I think the entire of 2021 I spent in experimenting. I did courses, I did workshops, I made all kinds of content. I worked with every possible brand that would want to work with me. सबके साथ काम किया, reels बनाया, सब करा. Starting of 2022 वो भी हो गया. तो my next artistic calling was अभी more podcasts, better conversations, doing something else. So for me it has always been कि ठीक है यहाँ से जितना value निकल सकता था निकल गया है. I don't want to overstay my welcome. In my own head. Audience तो चलता रहेगा. लोग बात करते को मिलते रहेंगे. But I don't want to overstay my welcome.
So I'll tell you how I look at it. Like how I look at the fact about this is basically we're talking about job satisfaction in some way, right? Not a job satisfaction because this is not like we don't look at it as a job, or
technically we are still unemployed.
So we're basically thinking about whether I am creating a difference. Like that is what we're looking at. We're here and here, whatever we keep doing, we reach a point where we feel like
whether we are creating enough impact,
basically that, right? So what happened was with me when I was working in consulting, obviously in the beginning it was all high profile, working with CEOs and CXOs, helping them solve big problems. Initially it was feeling good. But what you realize after working for a certain time is that most of the things that you recommend to CEOs or CXOs at the end of your project, they don't get implemented.
Of course.
That's number one, right? They don't get implemented and it just goes off as gyan, right? Second thing is that even if it gets implemented, let's say it's like a very small thing of a very small department. Let's say, for example, we helped reduce the manpower cost by 7% by introducing this piece of software. Aisa kuch hua, right? Let's say that's the output that you made. Now, in the beginning, let's say, okay, I got good rating, project rating mil gaya, promotion mil gaya, ho gaya. But you do that over and over again, you realize that, do I want to be remembered for this? Exactly. Do I want to be doing this at the age of 50? So what I realized for me personally is, I like to create impact, not from making rich people richer or companies more richer or better and more efficient. For me, it's about at the grassroots level ka impact, like the common man. And that's what gives me more joy. And I don't care how long I do that, right? As long as I'm helping the common man be better in his life, I don't think I'll ever get bored of it, right? As long as I'm creating impact for the common man. The moment I feel like, my content, as I've educated everybody, sabka ho gaya, sabka finance literate ho gaya India mein. When I reach that point, I might probably be like, okay, ho gaya, we calm, I have to stop. If I'm just sounding like a parrot, repeating the same thing over and over again, that's when I would stop. I would never like to get into the Gyan phase, giving life advice, Gyan advice, because that I know is over the top advice. सुनने के लिए अच्छा दिखता है and people forget about it in the very next minute. That I don't want to do. I like to create long-lasting impact which has a tangible benefit to people's lives. So as long as I'm doing that, no matter how long it is, I think I will have that satisfaction of creating impact.
हाँ तो ये भी हुआ मेरे साथ अभी recently. So my reels used to be ऐसे general life advice. मेरे को बड़ा मजा आता था बनाने में because I knew कि ठीक है superficial ज्ञान दो और Instagram पे चलेगा and worked for a while. I think the entire of I think me and Jess started a we'll make a reel every day challenge last year Jan-Feb में. Did it for 6 months. लगा कि ठीक है चल रहा है. But there's nothing coming out of it that would give me happiness. तो अभी मैंने उसको थोड़ा change किया. I'll give that gyan because I love doing that. But I'll give a couple of actionable things that people can do. So it's not just as a faltu gyan. So I understand that completely.
Right. And Mohammed, I'll tell you what. For me, when I post the content, it doesn't end there. Like I said, right, I spend at least 1 or 2 hours after I post the content in the comment section and in the DMs.
I think that
seeing
is
the reception.
I think that is a thing that no creator should do.
Why? No, I'm not talking from the point of, they're saying good thing or bad thing. I'm saying from the point of their follow-up questions.
Oh,
okay, because it's a finance content, right? Personal finance content.
People will have questions.
People have questions. So me answering those questions and explaining it to them, right? That tells me that, okay, that people are interested in this and they're gaining value from it. And they're interacting with that piece of content. So obviously I have like jokes and all of that. So those comments which say, haha, love this, too funny, died laughing. So all that is good. That builds engagement.
Yeah.
But that is not a determinant of, me feeling good about the work that I've done. That is just over the top vanity factor, right? It's more about the people who are asking genuine questions, answering it to them, and then saying, wow, I never thought about it this way. Thanks for changing my perspective.
So
wow, I was going through this problem last month. Thanks for solving that for me. My dad was going through this. Thanks for solving that for me. Those are the things. That is how I measure it.
It's a good validation to chase.
Yeah. Not just validation. It's about feeling that you genuinely helped them.
Yeah.
Sometimes what happens is you put a piece of content which is very contradictory and most people are in disagreement with that. Then what I do is I feel really bad, right? Because I feel like, okay, maybe they're right. Maybe what I thought is wrong. Because you might think of hundreds of different ways of evaluating what kind of comments you'll get and prepare for that before posting a content. But when you put it to 1 million people, you come up with some comments which you would never even thought of.
So exactly.
So many different perspectives.
That is the point I was trying to make.
Yeah.
For a content creator or for anyone in the public space, it is very difficult to digest the things that people will throw at you.
Yeah.
And I think इसका तो course बनाना चाहिए किसी को, how to develop a thick skin online.
Yeah, definitely.
Because it is a very difficult skill to learn.
Yeah.
Took me a while to learn from that.
I think there's nothing that can prepare you for it.
There's nothing that can prepare you. And it's not even, that the people that are commenting bad things or trying to bring you down are doing it for whatever bad reasons they might have. उनकी जिंदगी में कुछ बुरा चल रहा हो.
And before I was actually getting into fights with them because I thought that would make me feel better. If I shut them up.
If I one up them.
And if I shut them up, I thought I'll feel better.
Yeah.
But at the end of doing that, let's say one person comment, there are some people who will go until 30 replies, man. Back and forth.
Because they don't have anything else to do.
Right. Because they'll do that and they're getting kicked out of it. Okay, I'm making this big creator comment.
Yeah.
And I was doing that thinking I'm proving a point because I was thinking everyone is going to read this. So I have to make a point and beat him. And that is to fuck up my, mental health at the end of the day. Now what I do is, even if they tell me the worst, nastiest things, I start off with, thank you for your feedback. Thank you for this. I understand you look at it this way. This is how I'm looking at it. These are the sources that I looked at. Let me know if you have further questions. This is how I do. And then they become respectful as well. So that works. No matter how nasty they are, if I do this, they're nice to me as well. So what I realize is being nice to them is the solution. Because they are nice to you as well.
No, you'll also arrive at a point where you realize that there's no point in spending time on them.
Yeah?
Yeah, 100%. Because one of the philosophies that I live by is disregard the spite from criticism. As in, if the one is criticizing, you go through it with the perspective ki, theek hai, is there anything that I can actually implement? If yes, then I will implement it and thank them for it. If not, move on. I've started doing this over the last year. Very actively restrict people, very actively mute people, very actively give them the blind eye. Because all that people are looking for, who try to instigate you, are looking for that one reaction from you.
Yeah.
Because
definitely.
that is the validation that they need.
That's a kick that they get for that.
That is the kick that they need, and there can be 100,000 different reasons for them to need that kick. उनकी लाइफ हो सकता है बहुत फकौल हो, उनकी लाइफ हो सकता है कुछ भी चल रहा हो सकता है उनको मजा ही आ रहा हो. It is not my responsibility at all to give them that kick. Even by interacting, उसका comment like करके भी I'm spending 1 second of my time here. They're not entitled to my time.
For me, what happens is sometimes what they do is they start off rude, but then they will give their opinion. Now, their opinion, because it's finance, other people are reading that. Right? And if other people read that and interpret that that is the way to look at it, then it becomes problematic because people might think that is correct. So I need to, because it is mostly based on a misunderstanding of the person who commented it first. So I need to clear that misunderstanding first, because these guys would not have read the caption. My caption, I spend around half an hour per day, and it's a 1,000-word caption.
I think that is the downside of the platform that you're creating this on. You can't solve it until it's solved at a platform level. And Instagram is never going to be an education platform.
Right.
So that is a problem that you will have to either live with and try to solve by replying to comments.
Yeah, that's what I am trying to do. Right. I make my comment section. So my comment section, usually there are around 500, 600 comments, right, for a piece of content. I know YouTube it become much more, but on Instagram having 500, 600, genuine comment, like not your heart and emojis and all, like genuine nice sentence comments is really high compared to other creators of the same number of following. So I'm trying to create my own Instagram for me, where I want my comment section to be as open and like a Q&A place.
You also had a newsletter, right? You started a newsletter.
I'm still working on the newsletter. It's not.
Did you
it's
start
not
sending it out?
Yet.
Achha.
It's not full-fledged out.
Perfect. I think every creator should have at least every creator should have a newsletter.
Okay.
Because only the people with the newsletter or a power to reach out to their followers or fans directly in the next 5 years are the creators that are going to be popular or relevant. Because as of this moment, you're at the mercy of the platform that you're on.
Right.
If Instagram 100%. Tomorrow decides to shadow ban finance with Sharan for whatever reason, maybe starts dancing and they're like, this is a great dance. This will get 100 million views. We don't want the other people to get demoralized. They can shadow ban you and there's nothing you can do about it.
Right. True.
Even I am starting to think of how to work on a newsletter which I can, let's say, send out bi-weekly.
Jay also started, right, with a newsletter.
हाँ, उसके साथ मेरा थोड़ा disagreement है because the way he's approaching it very different, but it might work for him. तो वो थोड़ा वैसा creative difference है.
Right.
But हाँ, it's better than not doing it.
Yeah.
I think that is something that, let's talk about that, Abhi. What do you, like my whole belief of the content space, I don't look at it from a 6 months, 8 months, 1 year perspective. I am looking at it from a 10, 20 year perspective. And I wholeheartedly believe that the creators that are going to earn a lot of money and have a lot of relevance are going to be the people that have a very strong community. And that community can be 1,000 people, that can be 10,000 people, that can be 100,000 people.
Right.
But only the creators that have that community are going to be relevant and successful. And that cannot happen if you are a single platform creator.
Right, absolutely. So how I look at it is, so to answer your question, so I also don't look at it as a short-term play. If everything goes well, I would love to create content till the age I'm 80. Right, I don't want to stop. Now, coming to the community play, there are multiple ways to do it. One is, creating content on multiple platforms. But more than that, I think it's about engaging with them in a deeper way. And I think NFTs are trying to solve that problem. For example, what Gary Vee did. He has created an NFT, and people who purchase that NFT, first they get the sense of ownership that, okay, I'm much more connected to Gary Vee than the other normal followers. So I'm a little more special to Gary Vee. Second thing is I get access to his Discord channel, where there are like-minded people like me, where I get to talk to Gary Vee. I get access to his exclusive content, his exclusive, communication. And there are other like-minded people where I can learn from. So we become a part of this more inclusive community with this content creator. Yeah. And that builds a deeper form of connection. More than having, showing your face on, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram. You're just showing your face. Valid. More than that, I think it's about creating that inclusive community. It could be, Discord, Telegram, WhatsApp, or within Instagram's, that exclusive group or whatever it is. I think it's more about that, making that person feel more special than the other people. It's like, it's all about that. Even YouTube has that, subscription kind of a thing. So it's all about that. It's about making people feel that they're special. And that is what builds a deeper connection. And I'm not necessarily sure if that is what is required to sustain for a long term. Because even if you have the deepest connection with a person, if your content becomes shit after some time, it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Shit is shit. Content is king.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so difficult to become relevant, because it's difficult to stay relevant beyond 5 years in the content creation space. Thankfully for me and you, we are in the education space. So we have ample people to stand on. We have a lot of people's shoulders to stand upon, because other people are doing this thought research. It's our job to make that complicated thing simpler.
Yeah.
Right? That is our job. So it's easier for us to stay relevant for a longer time, because we are actually a group of intellectuals who are working together and taking insights from each other and making and packaging into a content for the masses to understand. But people who are in the pure creative space, let's say comedy, right? You cannot copy somebody else's comedy. People will trash you.
Yeah.
Or let's say dance. There's only so many forms of dance you can do for more than 5 years. So for them, it's very difficult to stay relevant. But for us, because we are all working in it together in the intellectual space, it's very easy for us to be relevant for a longer time.
I think you've struck a very important point here, which is, I don't know if you have experienced this, but content creators do not want to collaborate.
Don't want to collaborate. Why?
I mean, the same feeling कि यार इसका फायदा मेरे से ज़्यादा हो गया तो फिर मेरा तो नुकसान हो जाएगा.
Really thought about that.
Yeah, because you have always been collaborating with people who do not have, let's say, more numbers than you.
Yeah.
So for other people, it is a benefit for them. The transactional value of that collaboration, they're getting more value out of it than you are. From a purely transactional perspective.
Right.
So that is why you've not had to face that problem yet probably. And I hope आगे भी ना करना पड़े.
See, when I started off doing collaboration, so I was one of the first creators who started doing collaborating even before Instagram had the collab feature. And back then, to do a collab, you can't tag that person or whatever. You have to do 2 pieces of content.
Yeah.
One for your page, one for that guy's page. So I started doing that.
I think it's a great feature that Instagram has launched.
Instagram has made a great feature now.
Yeah.
But I was doing it before that. So I had to do it this way. So I started doing that with like 3-4 creators. And back then I was very small.
Yeah.
So everyone that I did was bigger than me. But what I did was, even though I became big, then after that, every person I was doing a collab with had a smaller following than me, right? So there, I was looking at people who would add value to my page, not from a perspective of increasing followers. Obviously, that is one of the things that you have to look at. Another thing is that, for example, what is something unique that they can add which is not there on my page? For example, I did a collab with Akanksha Monga. She's a travel influencer. Yeah. I started looking at ways, how can we talk about travel finance? Because that is something so unique, right? And she has that first-hand experience of traveling to different places and understanding, travel saving tips. So we worked together to create a very unique piece of content which is focused on travelers and finance, right? So even though, it did not make sense from, vanity metric point of view, but it added genuine value to my audience, right? It exposed my audience to travel finance and also exposed my audience to her incredible content, which is, traveling to different places. And she does it in a very different way from other travel influencers. So I think that was one of them. And obviously, when a bigger creator wants to collaborate with, you'll always be thinking about, itna followers aa jayega iske saath. All that will be there. But more than that, I look at it from what unique piece of content I can create, which I cannot do by myself.
So I can get assistance.
Yeah, that's the thing.
So when I started collaborating with other people, because I was creating video essays, so it was very difficult for me to find a way to collaborate with people. जिसमें सबका फायदा हो. So I think podcast is the way I figured out that this is the best way for me to collaborate with people. There is no transaction happening here.
Yeah.
Even if I collaborate with a person that has 20 million subscribers, until the people stay to sit and watch this conversation, because it's not the reason I keep these candid is exactly this. If I give you a 10-piece question, then people will come to see you answer those 10 questions.
Yeah.
But because we keep this conversation candid, there is a back and forth that keeps on happening.
Yeah.
So the people will have to stay for long.
Right.
And the other person finds value in कि ठीक है अच्छा बात हुआ. And I get value to interact with them.
Right.
So the collaborative spirit should always be there. But I've yet to see it become the norm. That okay, we collaborate to create better content. The collaboration, because I've seen this in the last 6-7 years.
Okay.
YouTube पे collaboration इसलिए होते थे कि इसके साथ सब्सक्राइबर है हम कोलैब करेंगे तो हमारे को भी मिल जाएंगे. And that is such a wrong way to approach the creative collaborative space.
Right, agreed. So if there's a bigger content creator than me, let's say 10x, but if it doesn't align with, if they cannot bring something unique to the page, I would be less inclined to, collaborate with that. Right? Sometimes, maybe my vanity side would be like, तो क्या होगा? I mean, 10,000, 20,000 followers आ जाएगा, तो ठीक है. But I would be less inclined to do it with someone like that, right? Then I would much more prefer to do it with a person who is adding a unique value to my page.
How was your Dubai experience like? Because I've spoken to Ayush, I've spoken to Jay, and they've had very different experiences, but they come from very different perspectives going into that event. This was the first creative collaborative event that you've been to?
Yeah, this was the first. Yeah, and this was the first one. It was sort of like a creator con event, right?
So
like
for
the
context,
Davos
because
of,
people will come back to
creators.
this podcast years later also. Thoda context though, NAS Summit, whatever. Give me your perspective, experience, ye Dubai wala.
So NAS Summit was sort of like, the conference for content creators around the world. So you had to apply for this as a content creator and say what unique kind of content you do, and if they like your profile, they'll invite you to this event. So it happened in Dubai, and there were a lot of events which were scheduled to talk about various aspects about content creation, whether you should make short form or long form, what is the future of crypto, how can content creators take their engagement with their audience to the next level, and learn from the absolute best people in this industry. Some person that I told you earlier, Ali Abdal, he was like actually my inspiration to start content, and I got to meet him and talk to him. So there were a lot of these superstar content creators who were there invited, and they spread their they shared their perspective about their journey. So it was really good networking with them. And even apart from that, even apart from the star content creators, even these people who were like me, who were invited to the event, networking with them, understanding what they are doing, how they are approaching, understanding where we can work together and synergize with each other. So it was a great event that way, and I still have I've had meetings with a lot of them, still brainstorming on how we can work together. So it was a pretty exciting event, and obviously it was Dubai, so we had a lot of fun as well.
One vacation.
So the hotel, it was right, overlooking the Burj Khalifa.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of fun, talking and interacting and going out.
I personally have never been able to network in that sense.
Yeah.
That's a very individual thing for me. I've been to these events a lot of times, a creative event, phone वगैरह के launch, you get to meet a lot of creators there. But I've never for some reason been able to do ये वाला चीज़. Okay, if I'm in a room with 100 different creators, I'm gonna meet, figure out what they do, what they don't do. I don't know, never been able to do it for some reason.
I mean, it is a little difficult for me also. This was my first networking event. So, we look at it from the perspective of, क्या मिलेगा मुझे बात करके? What do I talk about? And if it's not interesting to me, how do I get out of the conversation, right? So all those things are there in your head.
So I've never
and that
been able to do it. I've never even been inclined to try to do it. I mean, I've been very lucky in that sense. I did not have to do anything to interact with the biggest creators in the country. Right. I happened to be with them for some reason.
Yeah.
So
even
that
for me,
is
even
very
I didn't
lucky.
have to interact with the big creators. It happened. So how it worked is that so most people knew me there. So they'll come to me and then they'll talk to me, hey Sharan, love your content and all of that. And then I ask them questions, right? I ask them, what are you doing? And then they are very passionate about talking about what they're doing. And then I decide to say, okay, how we can work together by knowing this. Or I'll just talk about how can I help them? Because they'll ask me questions, what do I do better? How can I make better? And then they show me their content. I'll watch their content. I'll tell you this is what you can do. This is what you can do. So it's more about, for me, I don't look at it from the transactional point of view. I just want to have a good conversation, right, from there. I just want to see what kind of a person this is, what interesting stuff he's doing, and it broadens my horizons as well. Even if there's nothing for us to do work together on, I can, for example, there was this guy who was covering like what NAS does, Nusair does. He covers exciting stories across the world. So this guy who was doing that in India, like going to the remote parts of India, remote villages, understanding about some crazy innovations that are happening in these small villages. So I cannot collaborate with this guy and do anything meaningful, but it at least helped me understand that, okay, someone like this is doing something. Someone has the determination and the passion to go to the remote parts of India and to just make a 60-second piece of content. He's going to travel so much and spend so much time and energy and understanding all of that. So that shows me how much, to what extent people will go to make content, and that something like this also exists. So that also happened.
I think the difference is exactly what are we trying to get out of the conversation. Because for me, how I see it, meeting someone at a networking event will never give me enough time to figure them out or figure why they're doing what they're doing. What they're doing might be great, but why are they doing it? Mera focus udhar hai. So for example, ye NAS ke case mein, we happened to meet NAS.
Okay. Nusair.
Yeah. I think he was in Bombay, and I was working that day. I've told this story on my YouTube channel in a video how we crashed NAS Daly's fake wedding.
Okay.
तो जय was a creator काफ़ी टाइम से. तो जय को मेरे को शाम को फ़ोन आता है कि हम मुंबई जा रहे हैं. NAS Daly करके क्रिएटर है, वो आया हुआ है, एंड उसका वहाँ पे he's doing something and we'll go there. So we went out of nowhere. We went there. उसका अपना 1 मिनट का वीडियो शूट करा. And what I realized that day was that if you're meeting these creative people now, for me personally, it is better for me to meet them when they're not in their performance mode. When they're at the networking stage, they are in a performance mode.
Right. True.
And that way, unka performance, like, it is not even something they do consciously. Abhi yahan pe camera chal raha hai, so your how, your the way you're sitting, the way you're interacting, it's very different from what it would be कि हम TT खेल रहे होते.
Right.
So for me, it is always better to interact with people when they're not in that performance mode.
Like off camera kind of a thing.
Not necessarily off camera. Like, I think अभी मैं जब अमित से मिला था, हर्ष बनीवाल से मिला था, तो those guys have been doing this for long enough that they know कि उनको अपना कितना authentic side बाहर लाना है नहीं लाना. Comes naturally to them. So mostly, like, ऐसा नहीं है कि you are in a performance mode वैसा, you're not trying to be overly enthusiastic like your values in your skits. I find it more valuable personally to interact with creators when they're not in that performance mode, because then I can then dive deep into understanding who they are, why they are creating this kind of content. Of course, I can't then go on to meet a lot of people because if I'm spending 2 hours sitting down with person and talking to them.
I think it boils down to the point about distraction. So when you're at a networking event, you are thinking about multiple things to talk, multiple people to talk to. If I spend too much time with them, I won't be able to talk to him. But when you're on a one-on-one with them, their mind is completely focused on you.
Yeah, I think that is
right?
a better.
So they're not trying to get away from the conversation and go to somebody else. Not because they don't like you, because they don't want to miss out the opportunity. Right? So it's very difficult to get that person on a one-on-one basis.
I think that is my problem. I can't focus on too many things.
Right.
I want to stay calm. ये तो मेरा वैसे ही है, बचपन से ही है.
Yeah.
I want to chill.
Right.
My ultimate goal in life is to just chill. Work out, stay fit, eat good, and chill.
I think that's everybody's goal, but what happens is we get it sort of gets tampered with based on what happens in our life. For example, when someone has a good fortune of sudden inflow of a lot of money, he wants more of that, and then it's like, I want to stay chill. I can stay chill, but I want to make more of this, right? But if, let's say, there's no such thing as money that exists in the world, right? Then everybody's goal is to be chill, right? But because that money exists and it gives you that avenue and that rush, people want to go more and more after it. But if there's a world where it exists without money, then everybody's goal is to be chill only, right?
I think I have found the solution to this. The solution is to put yourself in a situation where you can see extremes. Where you can see the bad, the worst possible scenario, and you can see the best possible scenario. So then you have context enough to figure out where do you want to lie on the spectrum. And then you can work exactly उतना जो तुम्हें जहाँ तक पहुँचना है वहाँ तक काम कर दे. Like let's say अभी we were talking about money. I've seen people who are the absolute poorest. And I've happened to live and interact with people who are probably more rich than my entire khandan would ever be in my life.
Okay.
So I've seen these extremes.
Yeah.
I know what the pros of this are. I know what the pros of this are, cons वगैरह. And I know that there is this level where I can stay content enough कि मेरा वो chill वाला mode पहुँच रहा है. So I think the aspiration would be to reach just there. अब वो उसके बाद वो है कि मेरे अंदर इतना वो नहीं है, इच्छा नहीं है कि I conquer everything in the world.
Right.
That again differs from person to person. But at least for me the solution is दोनों extreme देख लो, उसके बाद chill करो. Figure out where you want to stay.
That's a great way of looking at it, man. I think I should start looking at it that way as well. Because what happens is most of the times, if you don't look at it that way, like, what's the extreme of this and what's the extreme of this, what happens is that you forget being chill. You forget to chill. Yeah. Right? Because you're always going towards that other side of the extreme, that you forget to chill along the way. And that defeats the entire purpose of you wanting to go there. Because you want to go there to be chill. But in the journey of wanting to go there, you're not chill. Yeah. So that's the problem.
वही गोल है कि एक बार तुम इंजीनियरिंग कर लोगे, then you can do ऐश वगैरह वगैरह. I think there's also another philosophy that I've figured out: content but never satisfied. I think that is the philosophy that I abide by. ठीक है, I think been long enough.
Yeah, how long did we talk?
2.5 hours.
2.5 hours. Nice.
I mean, unless you have more stuff to talk about.
No, I have to pack my bags now.
Oh yeah, you're supposed to leave as well.
Yeah, I have to leave for Mangalore today.
You're going surfing?
I'm after staying for 4 to 5 days with my parents, and I'm going to go to Mulki, which is near Mangalore, like 1 hour journey, half an hour journey. And then I'm going to go for a 3 or a 5 day surfing course to chill.
That is, I mean, good. I think you reach a certain point where you want to experience. Like, मेरे साथ अभी क्या हुआ? Like, I think I'll go back in the next few days, and I've outlined booked tickets for alternate things. लाइक एक दिन मैं किसी कॉमेडी शो में जा रहा हूँ, एक दिन मैं किसी ऐसे अंडरग्राउंड कॉन्सर्ट में जा रहा हूँ, एक दिन मैं किसी स्पीच सुनने जा रहा हूँ, एक दिन मैं पार्क में घूमने जा रहा हूँ, एक दिन मैं म्यूजियम में जा रहा हूँ. सो आई रियलाइज कि आई नीड टू लाइक वो आई स्टार्टेड फीलिंग थोड़ा कंप्लेसेंट इन लाइफ कि ठीक है सब चल रहा है, इतना भी चिल नहीं करना है, तो थोड़ा अपने आप को पुश करते हैं, तो पुट योरसेल्फ इन मोर सिचुएशंस. आई थिंक दैट इज अ गुड वे टू लिव लाइफ. जब तुम्हें लगे कि अब तुम ज़्यादा चिल कर रहे हो, तब पुट योरसेल्फ इन मोर सिचुएशंस वेयर यू कैन ग्रो.
एब्सोल्युटली.
आई थिंक इस पॉडकास्ट का टाइटल मैं ये रखूंगा, आंसरिंग लाइफ्स क्वेश्चंस विद फाइनेंस विद शरण. ठीक है, perfect. Thank you, Sharan, for taking out the time. I had fun. I hope you did too.
Absolutely. I think I got to explore some parts of my mind which I had never had the time to think about through this podcast. And I think that's exactly what you're trying to do.
Yeah. Chalo, perfect. I am going to stop.